Oh, sorry. I didn't realise we started. I just got a message from Beyonce.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She just says that she really wants to just tell me how pleased she is that I'm carving my own, way through life.
Do you feel safe?
And she wants to know that I should feel safe and loved, and also she really wants me to know that she's thinking about me and she's wishing me, a very happy Thursday.
Unbelievable that happened at the beginning of the show, though.
Isn't it? It's unusual that, because that doesn't happen to anyone really. In fact, I can't think of anyone that Beyonce has texted. Can you?
No, shall we play the clip?
Yeah. Have you got a clip?
Yeah, have a look at this.
All right, have a look.
Beyonce just texted.
Shut up.
Just checking in.
Just checking in, just casual.
I still can't believe she knows who I am.
Go and call her.
No, it's okay. She said she wants me to feel safe and protected. She admires and respects my bravery and vulnerability, and she thinks I was selected to break generational curses that need to be healed.
That's well said.
Yeah. I can't believe she knows who I am, Pooch.
No, I know.
But she wants me to feel protected. Harry! What do you mean we're going back to London? I hate it there. I hate the racists. I hate the royal family. I hate the press. I hate them all. Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham. I'm not Meghan Markle, but she's back. She's coming back with Harry. And although, funnily enough, some of the papers are saying Harry's coming back. Is he coming back without her? I'll tell you what, also, it's the return of Big Willie. Mr. William Yarwood is back. He's back from Wales.
Oh, indeed. Morning, Mike. Great to be back.
Very nice to see you. We've got a poll going. Which tower would you like Harry to go and live in? I think the choices are the Tower of London, Tower Hamlets, Blackpool Tower, or maybe is it the Eiffel Tower? Is that the final?
The amount of times I've been on the show where Tower Hamlets is an option on the poll, just for like basically anything. It's like, where would you like to go? Tower Hamlets.
I know you're going to be one of those people that says, look, I don't actually care about the royals, and there will be plenty of people out there saying, I don't care about Harry and Meghan. But it's, the story broke last night. We'll talk to Kinsey Schofield later on in the hour, so I won't make you talk about it too much because
we can do a minute or two.
We can't not talk about the fact that Harry and Meghan, after all this time, after 6 years, after telling everybody that the royal family's racist, that the British press are racist, that basically the whole British country is racist, and that they can't stand living here, and they were forced out. Now they're coming back.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, what's the explanation behind that?
Well, they've run out of money, says Deb. I think they bang on. I think that's exactly what's
They
happened.
run out of money, so they just come back and try and get some more money off the monarchy and indeed British taxpayers, perhaps.
I actually put a tweet out last night to say that, let's hope that these new migrants who are coming into the country don't take any benefits until they've worked for at least 5 years, because that's what I'd like to see. I suspect they won't be doing any work. So.
No, although that would be hilarious. They could come back on a dinghy.
Yeah.
They could come back on a dinghy and we put them in
great.
a illegal migrant hotel.
Yeah,
they can get £50 spending
Aren't
money
they
a week.
one up in Wales?
Yeah, there's a new one back up in Wales where I'm from, my neck of the woods in Flintshire.
They'd love it.
They'd love it up there. It'd be lovely. Nice
Harry and
rural
Meghan
area.
go to Flintshire.
Yeah, Harry and Meghan go to Flintshire. We'll have them. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike. It'd be nice to have another ginger around. It'd be nice to have another ginger around.
Yes, takes the focus away from you.
Takes the focus away from me.
Yeah, absolutely right. How was Flintshire? Anyway?
Yeah, it was all right. I spent.
Is it a bit like the land that time forgot?
A little bit. Like you go up there and some sort of things haven't really changed in the last 20 years or so.
Oh, 200 years.
Yeah, 200 years perhaps. Well, we do have cars and internet and stuff. Like we do have civilization.
Have they stopped burning people's cottages?
No, they're not burning people's cottages. Yeah. I used to do that for fun on the weekends, but no, we don't do that anymore. Health and safety.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice little bit of time off. I basically hadn't had a proper holiday for most of the year because I did go on a stag do in April, but that's not a holiday. That's not a holiday. That you need like a holiday after that. Work, yeah. That's hard work.
Were you in Flintshire for the emergency alert?
I was not. Friday? No, I was in London for the emergency alert actually, which was very exciting.
Okay.
So I did a week and a bit in Flintshire with family, seeing the dogs, all that kind of stuff. And then I did a week in London with my new flatmate friend of mine. Yeah. And we were walking to the pub on. And was it Friday evening the alert came out? Friday evening. Yeah, twice. And it was quite funny because everyone got their phones out at the exact same time. I live in like a relatively cushy part of southwest London, so everyone is obviously like, noise, what's going on here? And everyone pulls their phones out and realises it's just saying, don't use disposable barbecues, please. Which, by the way, I think is an egregious use of the emergency alert system.
Well, of course
and it's actually a complete misuse.
Well, the point about the emergency alert system is you're meant to be getting an alert about something that's imminently dangerous that's about to happen, not something that might happen if you do something. That's like saying, don't get in a car because you might crash it.
And it's also quite funny because convicted fraudster Louise Haig actually signed this off.
Yeah.
Maybe she should have an emergency alert of don't commit fraud.
Well,
And maybe she needs one like daily.
Can you imagine all the phones going off in Downing Street when she was running it all, because she's the one outside, and all the phones in the drawer, and she's already reported stolen.
And it's like, we finally found Morgan McSweeney's phone. Here it is.
Oh, yeah. It's gone off.
Yeah, it's gone off. There
it is. I wondered where it was.
Yeah.
It's been
Good way to start.
under the stairs.
Check
Go on.
out the screen. Check out
What have we got?
the screen.
Oh, Simon Kilford. Very kind. Thank you, Simon.
notes from
Welcome to
Simon.
Thursday. It is Thursday, isn't it?
One
The
more quickly.
20th of August. A super chat from Laura. Morning, Mike. Call me cynical, but the Harry story, what is it a distraction for? After all, the UK has suddenly not become safer. In fact, if anything, it's worse. Well, exactly right. Well, one of the stories that we're going to talk about a lot this morning, and this is in addition, obviously, to Harry and Meghan moving back. Front pages this morning. Daily Mail's got it, as has the Daily Express. The Express does a better front page, actually. But basically, they've issued a booklet to migrants to tell them not to rape women or beat them up, and to issue them with some information they might not have otherwise had. I.e., for example, women in Britain are allowed to go to work on their own without having to ask permission from a man.
Huh? I know. And the interesting thing is that they, this is all part of the government's strategy to try and integrate these people. And it wasn't just telling them about social attitudes in relation to women in work. It was basically saying that, well, here's what consent means.
Yeah.
Here's what consent means. It means when two adults, love each other very, very much and they say yes to each other. And then also they have to do another one about how not to abuse children. Right. Like how not to sexually insult children, how not to mutilate them.
And this has been issued by the Home Office, isn't it?
Yeah, Home Office.
Do they really think that the sort of man who comes here from Afghanistan, Eritrea, South Sudan, or God knows where else, Somalia, is going to stop in the middle of raping somebody to read a pamphlet to go, oh, you shouldn't be raping anyone?
Precisely. Or they give it to them, and they're like, whoa, I didn't know rape was bad. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to abuse children.
Yeah,
wow.
We were allowed to do it in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we were allowed to do it there. But also the interesting thing of all of this is this is being paid for by me and you. It's being paid for by taxpayers who never wanted these people here in the damn first place. And it actually completely contradicts the argument. All of these people are just cuddly asylum seekers running away from war, and they're all doctors and engineers. Well, if they're all doctors and engineers, surely they are well educated enough not to rape women.
Yes.
You think so?
You would think that would be one thing that would follow the other. But the thing that I found incredible over the past I guess it would be about 12 or 15 hours, because the story first broke, I think, late yesterday afternoon, is all these kind of lefty commentators who are trying to justify the means by which this has had to be done, because they're saying things like, well, it'll obviously help people coming from different cultures who might not know that there are different rules and regulations in this country that don't exist in the country they've come from. And you're kind of going, what, you think that's okay then? You want to just end the conversation there as opposed to, why the bloody hell are we inviting these people to come and live here who think that all of these types of behaviour are fine?
Yeah, exactly. And it's suicidal empathy, suicidal empathy for one, and it's also like the plague of cultural relativism, where essentially all cultures are to some extent equal. They're not backwards. They're just misunderstood, and they actually just, it's kind of like
a bit different.
It is a bit different. They're just a bit wacky. They just don't quite understand our ways. Yeah. And it's like, I didn't realise that, not raping people was a uniquely Western liberal democratic thing to say.
There's actually a pamphlet in Afghanistan that if you go there, it tells you if you're from the West, you should rape people.
Paid for by Afghani taxpayers.
Also, I think when you get off the plane in Pakistan, they've got a pamphlet that says, this is how you stone people to death. In fact, if you don't mind.
This is how you groom children.
There's a little collection of stones on your way out, on the way out of Terminal 3. Just pick a couple up and throw them at the nearest woman and see if you can knock her out.
It's like an affair, It's like you're 3 for 1.
Listen, different cultures have different ideas.
They just do. We need to be respectful of them, Mike. We need to be so respectful.
You're not allowed to have a drink, though.
No, that's...
But, that's haram.
That's haram. That's too much, mate. We can't be having that.
I mean, it beggars belief. I don't know if we've got the old posters anywhere, have we? I haven't seen them.
Let me get one up.
We've got them because
we got the Martin Daubney clip.
Let's do that. Let's do Martin Daubney's. I think he puts them up there.
Brace yourselves, we've got some huge breaking news. Very, very rare a story comes to GB News that completely takes my breath away, but it's this. It's emerged a short moment ago that asylum seekers coming to Britain are being given booklets telling them not to rape women and warning that sex with children is illegal in the United Kingdom. The guide is freely available on the Home Office website. You can see some pictures on your screen now, obtained by GB News. It also tells migrants that men and women are equal under UK law. And in a section on domestic abuse, it says that people will go to prison if they attack their partner. Let's just recap what people coming here are being told by the Home Office. Asylum seekers given booklets telling them not to rape women and warning them that sex with children is illegal. It goes on to say the legal age of consent in the UK is 16, and this means that anyone under the age of 16 is considered a child and cannot legally agree to have sex. Sex with someone under the age of 16 is a serious crime in the UK. There are no exceptions to this rule. It continues. Even if they say yes, it is still illegal. You could go to prison, lose your support and accommodation, and it will affect your asylum claims. Seriously, this is being handed out to asylum seekers in this country. It's been written by the Sun newspaper, a disturbing guide on how not to rape women in the United Kingdom. It's been paid for by the British taxpayer, and it's being handed out to immigrants arriving from different countries. Look at it. In the UK, both people must say yes to sex. It says this is called consent. There's a picture there of a woman crying on a bed, look. If you have sex with someone who does not want to, this is called rape. Rape is a serious crime. If it is still rape if you're married to the person or are in a relationship. It is still rape if they agreed once but changed their mind. If you have sex without consent, you could go to prison, it warns. Presumably in the countries some of these men are coming from, none of these rules apply. Is this an admission? We're importing dangerous men from countries who have no concept of British law, no concept of sex with minors, no concept of rules of consent, no concept of the rules of standard, decent, respectful engagement. It continues, as you can see on your screen, in terms of violence. It's illegal to harass people, it says. In the UK, everyone has the right to feel safe in public. It warns people as if they need telling. You must never make sexual comments to strangers, even as a compliment. You must never approach someone repeatedly if they are not interested. That's called stalking or harassment. You must never, it concludes, follow someone or block their path. Now, this guide is freely available on the Home Office website. It also tells migrants that men and women are equal under UK law. And as I say, that section on domestic abuse, it says that people can go to prison if they attack their partner.
It kind of leaves you kind of speechless, that, doesn't it? What other things are they going to tell them not to do? Don't eat the dogs. There's one from Dave. Does it mention
they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
The plants. Says Croy. I mean, it's hard to believe, isn't it? I'm surprised they didn't print that leaflet in 50 different languages. Well, Westy, they probably did.
Yeah, they probably did.
Presumably, that would be the English version on the Home Office website. But
Yeah,
no doubt there's Pashto.
Yeah, Pashto.
There'll be Urdu. There'll be, what else?
Doo-doo.
Doo-doo. Yes, that's what's been missing. A fucking pamphlet. Yeah, because that will change everybody's mind, won't it? Because you know, because I didn't know, for example, if I'm coming here from Afghanistan, that consistently complimenting somebody sexually is wrong.
Well, how could you? I mean, you're from.
I don't know
how
what they
could
mean
you?
by that.
How could they? I mean, there's such a backward culture, and they just don't properly understand our ways, and we need to educate them. It's kind of like almost like an inverse kind of colonialism where we used to go abroad and say like, sorry, like, no, you're not burning your like widows anymore.
Yeah, right.
It's like, it's kind of like inverse. It's like the leftists now want to go like, well, we need to teach them not to rape people.
Yeah, right.
We need to teach them. Actually, here's a radical point. We can just like not import them.
Yeah, right.
How about that? We can just not have them here.
Yeah. Well, maybe
we can just not have them in boats.
You know, ask them what their attitude is to women as they get off the boat, and if they say that they think it's okay to rape them, You just shoot them.
Yeah,
You know,
well, look, we got to give them pamphlet first.
Pamphlet,
and then if they don't understand it, then we can shoot them.
Yeah.
Right, I think that we have to like be moderate when it comes to this kind of stuff, Mike.
The idea as well that this kind of thing is in any way going to change the way that they behave.
Yeah,
The other argument I heard yesterday from the lefties was, oh well, this will be good because they won't be able to use that as a defence when they're done for sexual assault or rape in the future when they go before a judge, because some of them have said, oh, in my country we thought it was all right to do it. But that's absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Everybody knows that they're just saying that because some lawyers told them to say it.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that they didn't know it was wrong, because you know it's bloody wrong.
Of course they did, and they did it anyway. And for them, it's nothing to do with like gratification or anything. It's just to do with power, and it's to do with like their low impulse control. But yeah, the simple answer is you don't want these people in the country in the first place. I just don't want them here. And the amount.
So the way that they've said it may affect your asylum claim.
It may affect. It may affect.
Say that you'll be kicked out of the country.
Yeah, you should be kicked out of the country immediately.
Illegal.
Yeah, all illegal.
Yeah, they're all illegal. Thank you, Pooch, for that.
I don't want them dispersed in HMOs. I don't even want them in hotels anymore. I want them all put in just one big area, and the only chance they get to leave that area is when there's a plane to take them home.
Take them home, exactly.
That's the only time I want to see them go outside.
Put them under lock and key. Notice the leaflets don't say it's wrong, says Meow-Mook. They say it's an expectation not to do it.
Yeah.
Hello, no one noticing this. They're liars. They're doing it to us deliberately, try and change my mind. It is absolutely incredible that somebody in the Home Office, i.e. somebody working for Shabana Mahmood, who, by the way, has apparently now decided that there's a good idea to send people to somewhere like Rwanda.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So they've now resurrected that idea. That she's authorised this, that she's basically said this is a good idea. This is what we want people to be told.
And also, like, well, first of all, like in a kind of world, we wouldn't have to do something like this, but also the person who made this is likely some like integration and diversity officer inside of the Home Office. So he's essentially doing a non-job, and they think that it's their moral duty to tell migrants not to rape people. But in reality, not only these people shouldn't be here, but those kind of civil servants shouldn't be inside of the civil service at all, because they're giving. Because the way it was written as well, it wasn't, as you said, it wasn't like moralistic. It was all very like legalistic. Right. It was all like, well, it's against the law. It's like, yeah, but it's also like morally wrong as well. Maybe trying to explain those things.
In the UK, men and women are equal section, right, where they've got a bloke with blonde hair, believe it or not. It says here, treating someone unfairly because of their gender is not acceptable here. It can be against the law.
It can be against the law.
That's not approaching illegal migrants to say, don't behave like this in our country, right? They're basically saying it to everyone. If you treat someone unfairly because of their gender, you may be reported to the police. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Treating somebody unfairly. Huh?
Yeah, exactly, and also like what do you mean like
sexually assaulting somebody is not treating them unfairly?
No, exactly. That's not like
committing a massive major crime.
That's not being like a bit mean or like making a woman drive a joke, right? That's not the same thing.
Yeah, are you going to get arrested for making a woman drive a joke?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they have to arrest me and you probably at that point.
Unbelievable.
But Mike, just someone critiquing the show.
Yeah. Oh, this is from Elaine. Not a calm and sensible conversation. Too much silly laughing. Well, what do you think is exactly calm and sensible about this particular warning that they're giving out to illegal migrants, men coming here who want to attack you and to do you harm, possibly kill you, right? This is the Home Office putting this out as specific advice. And if you think that's not worth laughing at, I don't know what is. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
And it should be laughed
at. And we've paid for it, by the way. Yeah, precisely. Paid for it, Elaine.
Yeah, so, precisely.
And everything we do on this show is serious. It doesn't mean because we're laughing it's not serious. You can laugh at things that are serious. It's in fact the only way to get through life.
Otherwise, we'd probably spend the entire time crying, Mike. Probably.
We would.
Hold on.
Anything else? Any more pedantry?
No, but there was this. This is good advice.
Yeah.
Don't shag goats. There we are. That should have been included in the pamphlet, Ian.
Somebody did say a bit earlier, will Harry and Meghan be issued any warnings when they come back to the UK? Like, for example, don't dress up as a Nazi, right? Because that could be useful for him. Because
don't be insufferable.
Because he didn't know that, that's not acceptable here, apparently. Because he thought that was a good idea when he lived here.
Yeah, he did indeed.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. That's a calmly sensible pamphlet then, says Red Wine. Yeah, well, exactly. And this one from Margaret, who gets it. She says, well said, Mike. I love the way you present the show. We need a sense of humour to get through this shizer. Absolutely right. If they need to advise these men, then obviously these men aren't the sort we want in this country, says Rich Hazel. Well, that's exactly what you were saying.
Precisely.
It is entirely mad.
Cover soup chats.
A couple of super chats, one from EG, thank you very much indeed, very kind. Keep those coming. One from Cookie Boy, has the government done a TikTok version?
They're not far behind, I bet.
Do you know, I bet they have.
Yeah, I bet they have, they've just not released it yet. Or they won't release it because of all the fact that all the right-wing press has got their hands on it, and now it's on the front page of like 3 national newspapers.
Made one, and they've gone, oh, I don't know if we can put this out. This is from Tina. The only thing that pamphlets should say is, don't get comfy, you're being deported.
Yes, exactly.
I couldn't agree more. It is absolutely and utterly insane that they think that this is a good idea, that they think that anybody would recommend this to give to people who are clearly don't marry. Oh, well, this is a good one. It's from Tony. Don't marry a narcissistic sociopath. Oh, too late. Somebody also said there should be an alert for Meghan's arrival because there should be an alert before the end of the month. That should be an emergency alert.
Or an emergency alert.
Harry, we're about to land in London. You know.
Beep, 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 beep,
They're
beep.
going to live in the Cotswolds. It says.
And the entirety of the Cotswolds just turns into like a big air raid siren because of all the alerts going off.
Serious comment there. I agree with this.
I even think Putin would be a better prime minister. At least he would stop the boats. He would, yeah. He'd just fire a couple of drones at them, wouldn't he? That'd be the end of that. How about this, by the way, on the back of this anti-rape consent message that's coming in from the Home Office, 1.3 million migrants. This is news that came out yesterday. 1.3 million migrants are now on universal credit. ONS data suggests a further 623,000 are claiming a non-universal credit benefit combination. Although this is likely an undercount, we have close to 2 million migrants claiming benefits now in Britain.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, that's and also it's also not a surprise, but it also again, like this story we just talked about, destroys the view that these people are coming here to integrate, to work, to be productive in society. No. You know, the universal credit, of course, is a means-tested benefit which you get when either you're either in lower skilled work or you're out of work entirely. Yeah. Obviously, also when it comes to lower skilled workers, because the argument might be, oh well, we need to fill gaps in the labour market. Actually, lower skilled workers actually do end up costing taxpayers more in the long run. Yeah. They actually end up costing, I think, a lower skilled worker, if they hit state pension age, end up costing taxpayers about £1 million quid each.
And that's only if they are coming on their own, right? That doesn't.
Yes, that includes dependents.
If they're bringing dependents as well, which many of them will. Yeah. That's another £1 million per person, right?
Exactly, and then you're thinking also about how there's the sort of student visa immigration factory as well. The fact that a lot of universities are entirely reliant on student visas, and they bring over not just themselves, but they bring over their entire families, who then also will get things like indefinite leave to remain and get access to the welfare state. I mean, this is why when a Reform announced their plans on Monday to strip foreign nationals of all welfare, including those from the European Union, I was like, yes, fantastic, great, brilliant idea, because that's costing taxpayers upwards of about £21 billion, estimated £21 billion a year.
And this to a country that doesn't have any money.
Yeah, right? Precisely.
We keep being told we haven't got any money, we're going to have to start cutting back in some way on some of the expenditure in the government. But they never say they're going to cut back on immigration.
No, they never do, which is an easy cost-saving way to go about things. But also the problem that I faced on Monday when I went on some of the broadcast media on my first day back to defend Reform's welfare plans and say it was quite ambitious and we need a bit more detail, but it's ultimately going in the correct direction. The sensibilist, high-status people were complaining about the foreign national thing, but only because, but we'd have to sort of renegotiate parts of the EU withdrawal agreements, and also Brits in Spain would lose access to the welfare state. Good, sorry.
But also, this is one of the biggest shibboleths, I think, of the week, really, because all these lefties were doing the rounds, talking to various different outlets, saying, but all these people in Europe who are from Britain claiming benefits in Europe would be punished. Well, hang on, I don't think there are any. I don't know anyone who's ever left this country to go to Europe to do anything other than work. You know, I've got friends who went to Germany to work, went to France to work, went to Spain to work, went to Italy, but they didn't go there with the idea of claiming benefits.
No, there's not many at all, but also even if there are, I don't care. I genuinely do not give a damn. I'm sorry that if you've got abroad...
You shouldn't be living in a different country from the one from which you come, expecting to be paid benefits.
Precisely, that is a basic line. German, Spanish, Greek, whatever it is, taxpayers should not be funding your lifestyle in any way, just as British taxpayers should be not funding
Well,
their
Robert
lifestyles
Jenrick
as
explained it rather well, didn't he? He was asked a question, I think it was by Bloomberg, and he said, well, if I went to America with my family to take up a high-paying job and I got sacked because it didn't work out, I wouldn't suddenly fall on the state of America and go, well, now you have to look after me and my family for the rest of time.
Well, you wouldn't be allowed
I would
to.
get on a plane and come back to Britain and get a job back here.
Yeah, precisely.
That's what you do.
And also in the United States, you wouldn't be allowed to.
No.
Like, you need to have been there for 5 years, and then also you still need to go through the process as well. And I think also the point about citizenship is important, actually, because one or two people who were who like emailed me or messaged me when I did my media bids were like, well, I'm an EU citizen and like, I've lived here all my life and I've paid taxes. And I'm like, excellent, why don't you get British citizenship then?
Yeah, well, to become a British citizen.
If you've been here for so long and you're working, you're not on the dole, you're doing all that kind of stuff, fine, get citizenship, and then when you're older, you can then get access to things like a state pension, which you actually would have paid for at that point. Because I'm sorry, there has to be a line drawn somewhere, and I don't care about your sort of moralising and hand-wringing and going, oh, this isn't fair. I actually don't care. No. Actually, it's not fair for British taxpayers to be paying for that at all, and we need to draw a line somewhere. And I'm actually glad Reform's drawn a line at citizenship, because that is a basic common sense line you think would have been drawn already.
You would have thought so, because we are one of the, I think, probably only countries in the world that allows people to do that. I can't think of another one. I know that they've got freedom of movement, so-called inside of Europe. So if you're French, you might be able to go and live in Germany, and it may well be that you can claim benefits there. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't think we can, and I don't think we should. No. You know, I don't think anybody should. But meanwhile, you've got, I always want to call her Mazir Mahmood, it's Shabana Mahmood, says that she wants to implement a fairer spread of asylum, right? I don't know who this woman thinks she is. She basically wants the government to be able to prepare to house more migrants in wealthy areas. So not only do they hate Britain, they particularly hate people in Britain who've got money, right? And they want to punish you for having money by sending a load of migrants into your area. Absolutely. And I mean, this idea that we're supposed to take our fair share is absolute and utter anathema to me.
And again, it goes back to the point I was talking about earlier, because there's HMOs, there's dispersed accommodation, and then there's illegal migrant hotels. Yeah. Out of those three, I would choose hotels because at least it's secure. They are more expensive, but they're secure, and at least you know where everyone is. Yeah. HMOs and dispersed accommodation, people can just disappear into the ether. But in reality, I don't want these people put in like rich areas or working class areas. Find a big field, and then build like, you know, some sort of like Nightingale hospital,
like an aircraft hangar.
Yeah, that will be find an aircraft hangar, and you put them all in there, and then you put the military and police around it, and you only allow them out when there's a plane to take them home. That's the only time you do it, and you tell them consistently that you are not staying in this country. You are not staying. You will never stay. You broke here illegally. I do not care. So they're doing this to some extent also to, I think, but also like Sunak did this actually when he was Prime Minister. I remember when I was working in Parliament briefly, and this is obviously all public knowledge now, but Sunak apparently called in a bunch of members of the Tory party into Number 10 and said to them, oh, well, look, you guys are going to have to take some more illegal migrants, basically, because you guys have big Tory majorities and you're also mostly in wealthy areas. Yes. And we're going to look dodgy if we throw it in more working class areas where obviously they hate it even more. But interestingly, if you put illegal migrant hotels in like rich, cuddly Lib Dem areas, you watch them switch overnight and start voting Reform. Yeah, exactly. You watch them suddenly experience the consequences of their own political beliefs because they're always like abstract with them. They're like, oh, well, I like the idea of being nice about asylum seekers, but I would never have them in my own backyard. No. I would never have them in my own backyard. Can I just
point out, by the way, that Pravda, otherwise known as the Times, as I now call it.
How you call the Times Pravda?
I'd call it Pravda, because they don't think that the story about sending out warnings to migrants not to rape or sexually harass people is a story. They put it as one paragraph inside this story about Mahmood saying wealthy areas. It's like, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paragraphs down, it says, and this is one paragraph in the story. Yesterday, the Home Office published guidance for asylum seekers warning them not to rape or sexually harass people after a series of attacks. The document also said women were allowed to make their own decisions. That's all they say.
That's all they say.
That's the story for them. That's not worth a headline. It's not worth a separate story. It's not even worth reporting on. And that's what's wrong with Pravda and the Times these days, because it's run by lefties, full of lefties writing for it, and they're all sitting there probably going, oh, I don't think we should be demonising these people because it's not fair, because, you know, they're not all rapists and sexually assaulters. So the Home Office, they've got this wrong, completely wrong. This is how they actually talk, by the way, because I used to see them in the canteen. You know, I don't know what to do. Oh, I can't make a story out of that because it's not fair. Instead, what we'll do is we'll say wealthy areas must take their fair share of asylum seekers.
Because who reads us wealthy
Because,
people?
yeah, it's just wealthy people. Yes, nice.
That's
isn't it?
nice.
I mean, I want to tear it up. I want to tear it up again. Bloody, what's wrong with them?
Do you hate the Times more than the Guardian and the
Yeah,
Independent?
the Times
now?
is now worse than the Guardian and Independent. It's more left wing. It actually is.
That's great. You think the Times is more left wing
It
than the
is,
Guardian?
but it is.
Wow.
It really is. You know, the Guardian now looks like, you know, some kind of jackbooted, you know, right-wing mania compared to the
Sort
Times.
of like Kelvin Mackenzie running the
Yeah,
Guardian.
exactly. Exactly right. Well, let's have a look. All right, let's just take it. Their main story of the day, despite all of the stuff about asylum, is that there's a vaccine for skin cancer, right? Nobody cares. They've got a story about a trouble at a golf club on page 3. The fastest star in the galaxy is there. Oh, the drowning victims were refugees. That's a big story for them. They're all from Palestine. Apparently none of them knew how to swim. You know, sorry about that. How about this? Rough sleeping vow could keep the Prime Minister awake at night. There's a lovely piece with Andy Burnham.
And
our Andy. Because he's going to stop all rough sleeping by Christmas.
That's what hope in every art and good growth in every postcode.
Yeah, maybe you
looks
could
like.
put some of the homeless in with the migrants and they could all have some great parties together.
And they're all going to have like chip butties and barns. It's going to be great.
And apparently, oh, by the way, here's another great story today. Old Sue Gray apparently has given an interview to The Guardian in which she said,
Grey Sue.
Yeah, Grey Sue. Saying it was unbearable working for Keir Starmer.
I can believe that.
It's a nice way to repay the guy that's put you in the House of Lords and, you know, given you a top job in the civil service.
And what's also funny is Sue Gray, when obviously she was doing that investigation into Boris, was little more really than a Labour apparatchik pretending to be a civil servant.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she becomes an advisor to the Prime Minister, well, one of the top advisors, the chief of staff, I believe, at the time.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much, Simon, very kind of you. But also the fact that Sue Gray got done in for all those freebies and free tickets and stuff she was getting. And then Keir Starmer goes, oh, well, it's quite all right. We'll just put you in the House of Lords. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
And
now she says it was unbearable working for him.
Do on,
they're so dishonourable to each other, aren't they?
Complete slime bags, complete slime bags.
And here they go with a friend of Kamala Harris hit by a crew sues British Airways. So they're very keen on that. How about this? A bit of story on... Oh, they've done another story on rape is a crime. So another left-hand page. It's a left-hand page. Page 10.
Page 10.
Why don't you try putting up page 1, you complete numpties? Meta prized profit over child safety, says engineer. I mean, it just goes on.
I think I've
on.
got to tie around and look through the entirety of the Times. I mean, I stopped. I used to read Times opinion pieces actually, but I actually kind of stopped.
Oh, there's a story about Wales here. There was apparently there's a wildfire, and it says, look at this. I mean, it looks like there's hardly any fire at all. It's like a scene from Apocalypse Now.
But there's like not really much fire.
There's hardly any fire at all. That's not a wildfire.
There's not a wildfire.
Yeah. This is from Jason Ashwood. He spent 36 hours embedded with the embattled firefighters on the front line of the wildfire sweeping across Wales. Did you see anyone there?
No, I didn't, I'm afraid.
No?
No.
Maybe they've got this wrong.
Well, maybe people thought I was a wildfire because of my red
ginger
hair.
hair.
Ginger hair. I was in
I haven't actually called them Ginge and Whinge yet, which is what we like to call them.
Oh, that's quite good. I like Ginge and Whinge.
So, you know, I'm sick of the Times. It really is just awful. They've got a piece by Juliet Samuel. Our water crisis calls for radical solutions. Okay, then. What else?
Amnesty vs. J.K. Rowling. Editorial nonsense.
It's just rubbish, isn't it? Just crap. Anyway, there we are. Should we finish up with yet another Harry and Meghan clip?
Well, because we can tee that into Kinsey.
Because we can see that into Kinsey Schofield, who's here, who's absolutely over the moon, I'm sure, that the Montecito Massive is moving over to the United Kingdom, innit? Right. And I'm going to be telling her about that nice text I got from Beyonce.
Yeah, nice.
Wishing me well, because I can't believe she knows who I am, to be honest.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry to interrupt. I've got some more breaking news for you.
Go
on. So we were just talking about illegal migration. Just to keep it on this. The government has said that 80,000 legal migrants and foreign criminals have now been deported since 2024, and this is the highest level since 2016. Apparently.
Really?
Yeah, apparently there's 19,622 enforced returns of people with no legal right to remain in the UK. 11,733 foreign national offenders returned, including 5,995 through the early removal scheme, 24,000 asylum-related returns, 6,000 returns of small boat arrivals, which is actually tiny, and 163 chartered flights operated to return people to countries like Africa, Asia, Europe, and South America.
So over what period is this meant to be?
This is over the period of 2 years, between July 2024 and July 2026.
So in 2 years...
So in 2 years, they've got rid of 80,000 people.
80,000 people, and we've got 2 million on universal credit. Numbers are not really adding up to me.
Right.
Right?
And also the interesting thing is also 6,000 returns of small boat arrivals. Then we get that like in a week.
Yeah.
Isn't that like what we get in a
That's
week?
the same as the lot that came in June.
Yeah, isn't that like the entirety in like we get in a week or a month? And they've done that over 2 years.
And why are they boasting about it? Like it's a thing.
Because I think now the Home Office has woken up this morning and gone, shit, this is on the front page of the Express and the Mail. And they are now basically trying to find a way to release statistics that shows what Labour's done over the last 2 years.
Make it look as if they're actually doing something. Man from Kerner, what complete bollocks.
I know what complete bollocks. Well, it's true. It's Home Office statistics, but the issue is they are trying to prove to themselves that they're doing a really good job. When in reality, if you compare, say, the small boat arrival numbers versus the small boat deportation numbers, you go, that's minuscule.
It's literally a drop in the ocean.
Drop in the ocean. Yeah. That's nothing. And also now the fact that Mahmood obviously now seems to want to reopen the Rwanda plan idea, which Keir Starmer, as people will remember, got rid of on day one.
Yes.
He got rid of that on day one when he was Prime Minister, and everyone was like, oh, that's so brilliant. Keir Starmer's got rid of this evil Tory deal, and now they're left up, the creek without a paddle, so to speak. And they realise that they actually can't get rid of a lot of these people because of, ECHR rules and legalistic nonsense and the lawyer activist class, as well as the fact that many of these countries actually don't really want their rapists back. They don't want them back at all. And Mahmood and the Home Office are trying to get in front of what they've seen on the front page of the Mail and the Express and go, no, guys, we're dealing with this. We're taking it really seriously by deporting 6,000 people over the course of 2 years. Hey, we've done it, guys.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable. William, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We're just going to finish up with another Harry and Meghan clip. This is Harry and Meghan falling in love. What do you reckon?
Oh, wow.
The fact that I fell in love with Meghan so incredibly quickly was sort of confirmation to me that all the stars were aligned, everything was just perfect. It was this beautiful woman just tripped and fell into my life. I fell into her life.
Their paths crossed in 2016 when a mutual friend suggested a blind date. Meghan had only one concern.
I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense. And so we went and met for a drink.
I was beautifully surprised when I walked into that room and saw her, and there she was sitting there. I was like, okay, well, I really have to up my game.
I think very quickly into that we said, well, what are we doing tomorrow? We should meet again.
What are we doing tomorrow? Let's meet again. And then it was like, right, diaries. We need to get the diaries out and find out how we're going to make this work, because I was off to Africa for a month. She was working, and we just said, right, where's the gap? And the gap happened to be in the perfect place. I managed to persuade her to come and join me in Botswana, and we camped out with each other under the stars. She came and joined me for 5 days out there, which was absolutely fantastic. So then we were really by ourselves, which was crucial to me to make sure that we had a chance to get to know each other.
The family has been great, and we've just had a really nice time getting to know them and progressively helping me feel a part of not just the
Oh, look at all those racists that she was surrounded by there. That must have been awful for her.
Look at this.
I mean, yeah, I'm afraid so. It's the sick-making video of all time. We've got to talk to Kinsey Schofield. I mean, we didn't know when we asked her to come on the show on Thursday that we were going to have this kind of magnitude of story to talk about. Kinsey, a very good morning to you. Have you been up all night?
Are we calling this Regrexit?
Regrexit, I like it, yes. Very good.
They
good.
regret their Megxit?
Yeah, they regret their Megxit. They've forgotten that all the people that were here that forced them away are still here, apart from a couple of them that may have passed away. That they've forgotten that the entire nation of Britain is a racist country. They've forgotten that the royal family's racist. They've forgotten that the press are against them. So presumably everything's fine now.
Well, we didn't forget. There's 6 hours of Netflix that remind us on a pretty regular, whenever we want to pop it on and tune in, that the royal family and the United Kingdom ran, and the media ran Meghan Markle off. And I don't think that Prince Harry is going to have a problem moving back there. I think that he will flourish because he's desperately missed his lifestyle there. But I do think Meghan Markle's going to totally hate her existence. I mean, but I'd also argue that isn't this proof that she's never happy? That it's very hard to make this woman happy. We should congratulate them for making it longer in the United States than Meghan made it as a working royal. What was it, 17 months?
Yeah.
They've lasted 6 years. But in the last 6 years, there is a pattern of quitting. The same way they quit the British royal family, they quit Netflix, they quit Spotify, she's quit Limonada. What happened to her 40 by 40 initiative that she did on her birthday? She quits everything.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And I mean, interestingly enough, the Telegraph's version of events, and I just almost by mistake played the Oprah Winfrey clip, which we'll play in a minute. The Telegraph's version of events is Harry's coming home. That's their headline. It's not Harry and Meghan are coming home, it's Harry's coming home. And there's already a conversation being had in some quarters that this is the beginning of the end for the two of them. And that, this will be the start of something which ends up with him sort of splitting up from her.
I think that's true. I mean, I've made that point as well, because I don't think she'll be happy there. But they are keeping their home in Montecito. They are keeping their vacation property in Portugal. Why? How? Financially, how can you afford all of these things?
Exactly.
Yeah, how can you afford all of these things? I mean, I talked to Sally Bedell Smith earlier, who is a wonderfully respected royal author that I absolutely adore. Yeah. And I said, I think that I knew that they were looking in the Cotswolds, and that's very hip and chic and very Montecito. Ellen DeGeneres had a home there not too long ago. In fact, I think she's struggled to sell it. And Sally Bedell Smith said to me, what about Earl Spencer? Earl Spencer promoting his book. This book is a piece of the eulogy, is just the second piece of the eulogy that I gave at my sister's funeral. Yeah. Obviously, this redemption, he's trying to do this redemption thing. And if he's haunted by not giving Diana a place to stay her last summer, they're basically thrusting her in the arms of the Al Fayed family, then maybe he would give Prince Harry a place to stay for free on the Althorpe estate. I don't know. We don't know where they're going to stay. We don't know where the kids are enrolled in school. We don't know what their financial situation is, but we do know he owes the Daily Mail a lot of money, and he's probably going to have to settle the Senabale case financially to make that go away, because they're currently suing him for defamation. We know that their security costs them an awful lot of money, and there's not a lot of work coming their way.
No. Well, no, and also the word is they're not going to be doing anything as active members of the royal family, so they're not going to be able to sort of take any money out of that particular pot. Clearly, though, some conversations have been taking place between him and his father, haven't they, about all of this, because presumably he's doing this with the blessing of King Charles.
He told his dad on Sunday, and there was no discussion about this when they met at Highgrove. Right. And so it's our understanding that King Charles was incredibly surprised. The Prince and Princess of Wales were devastated when they heard the news. And it's not necessarily been encouraged by the royal family. It's been more of like okay. The king, it's my understanding, said, I'm happy to spend time with you personally and privately, but your role within the royal family is not changing. You are private citizens. You're not going to move back here and get your old job back. That's just not the way it works. And then Harry's team leaking to outlets in the United States that this is really all about his dad's health. We're not that stupid, Mike. Right. Again, talking about patterns, how did you treat your grandmother in the months leading up to her death? Well, your wife was fake curtsying for Netflix cameras. You were recording a Netflix docuseries destroying your family. You were secretly well, no, you weren't. You were not secretly. You were blatantly writing Spare and teasing the book that you were going to release, where you attacked your family, the Prince and Princess of Wales, among others. I mean, the Queen Elizabeth died fearful of what Harry and Meghan were up to. Prince Philip was in the hospital when they did their Oprah Winfrey interview. So if we look at the pattern of how Harry and Meghan treat the elderly when they're going through health issues, there's a pattern of Thomas Markle's amputation.
Right.
I mean, there's not a pattern of empathy and compassion here from these two.
Really
I
isn't.
think Harry and Meghan are returning to the United Kingdom because they are broke and desperate, and their American experiment has failed miserably. This is an admission of failure. How humiliating.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the people that they tried to befriend have kind of abandoned them in America, haven't they? Because they've realized that they're a bunch of grifting, ghastly, horrible, self-centered narcissists. And it's as simple as that. Let's remind ourselves of the Oprah Winfrey interview, shall we? It's just come in, I think, Pooch, into the old scenario. Let's have a look. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. And you could tell by the way that she told the story that it wasn't true. And when he kind of pipes in to almost try and cover up the fact that she said it, embarrassed because it's come out and because it's probably something that they've cooked up between them but wasn't really meant to go public. And it turned out that it wasn't true.
I mean, she looks whiter than I am.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I highly doubt this concerned conversation took place.
Right.
If anything, I believe that the royal family said what every biracial family says. I wonder if she'll get your hair or he'll get your hair or your eyes. It's natural to wonder what a child's going to look like when one of the people is a ginger. Has wild red Spencer hair, and the other looks like a supermodel. And so what? She's biracial. That was not on any of our radars. We didn't care. We were just happy that Prince Harry found somebody to love. I mean, they brought the race thing into play, but we did not care. We just loved that Harry had found his person. It's so wild to me. And I'll say this forever. That was their biggest mistake when it comes to marketing and PR, because first impressions matter. The palace had done such a great job of building Harry up to be like this goofy, sexy, most eligible bachelor war hero kind of character. Meghan Markle was new on the scene, and they made her to be this like Disney princess. And so we really knew very little about them except for what the palace told us we should think.
Yeah.
How they had defined them to us. So Harry and Meghan sit down with Oprah Winfrey. And again, first impressions matter. That woman is angry. She is vindictive. Meghan Markle in that interview, she is bitter. She is full of rage and vengeance. And then a few years later, she wants to pour flower sprinkles over everything and talk about her pursuit of joy. That interview was so damaging. And that interview was, now I think we can look back and say that was the beginning of the end. Because first of all, if you're Spotify or Netflix, you're thinking, why did you not give us that interview? We are giving you millions of dollars. And second, you are telling the world that you are these complainers and that your relationship with the truth is questionable, because you have the Archbishop come out and say parts of that interview is not true. You have other people come out and push back on that, like the Kensington Palace employees that tell Valentine Lowe Meghan Markle is a bully and the Queen is forced to investigate her. That is the beginning of the end. What a mistake that interview was.
Exactly right. And also watching it again there, which I haven't watched it for a long time, you can tell she's acting, that kind of that look that she's got.
When she does this and she's like...
Yeah, and she's like looking all kind of vulnerable and trying to make out that she's the victim, and in the other clip we showed about, how they fell in love, where she's also acting all happy. She's a very strange woman, it seems to me. Eh?
You do the Beyonce one, great.
Yeah, let's do the Beyonce one. Yeah, I started the show with this because I pretended I was getting a message from Beyonce as well. Check this out.
Beyonce just texted.
Shut up.
Just checking in.
Just checking in, just casual.
I still can't believe she knows who I am.
Go and call her.
No, it's okay. She said she wants me to feel safe and protected. She admires and respects my bravery and vulnerability, and she thinks I was selected to break generational curses that need to be healed.
That's what I said.
I mean, she admires my vulnerability. Really? Does she?
Yeah. And this is exactly why no one wants to associate with them. Think about Kim Kardashian on that podcast going like, well, they said this, but that's not true. It's because Harry and Meghan, not only, again, with the interesting relationship they have with the truth. I don't know what Beyonce text messaged her. I don't even know if that was really Beyonce, like whatever. But it's the fact that that nothing's sacred for them. No. They overshare. And in Hollywood, to keep up with the Joneses, you have to prove that you're trustworthy. Right. And they're going to have to, if they want any sort of relationship with the royal family, they're going to have to reprove that they're trustworthy. And I think that that's going to be very difficult for these two because I don't think that they're very trustworthy.
Well, let's face it, Harry spent the best part of the last, 3 years going in and out of courts to try and prove that he can't bring his family to this country because it's too dangerous and that he needs to get protection from the police and from the Crown. And now suddenly he's moving back and there's no mention of it. Oh, suddenly now Britain's safe? Is it? What changed? How did it get safer suddenly overnight?
Literally in May of 2025, he sits down with the BBC and says, I can never see bringing my family back here. Says that he's worried about somebody throwing acid on his wife's face. Why in the world would you ever say that out loud or throw that into the universe? What a deranged thing to vocalize to BBC News cameras. Yeah. You know, he says that it's just way too dangerous, gets into a nasty fight this summer in July, saying that it's not safe enough for him to bring his wife and children. Well, guess what? He brought them. They met with King Charles. No photos were taken. They moved in and out of the country safely, which totally contradicts his argument. But, you know, just as recently as a few weeks ago, the man is saying his family's not safe in the UK.
Right. I know. It's kind of schizophrenic. It's almost as though the dope has kind of addled his brain. You know, he's been getting stoned for so long, he's forgotten what he said.
Where's he going to get his dope in the United Kingdom? That's what I'm worried about. Because it's legal here in the state of California.
Maybe he'll sign into the NHS and they'll because you can get it on prescription. You can't just go and buy it in a store, but you can get it on prescription. Or maybe he can pop down to those friends of his in South London. Remember when he was knocking on the doors looking for, I don't know what he was looking for. Maybe they could help him.
Yeah, I think that that's probably going to be an alternative, just taking it to the streets.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean...
hold on. Great Waldo, Mike. Here we go.
Oh, right. I had to block Beyonce. Time difference was very inconvenient for me, says Great Waldo. Yeah, she kept texting you. Just stop it. Leave me alone. I think this is all a setup, right, as well, because I think quietly, I presume over the course of the next few weeks and months, they will sell Montecito. Because I don't, like you, I can't see how they can keep it on if they've got no money, they've got no income, basically. Pedro says he should have married you.
I like my men to have a little bit of ambition.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and a bit of a backbone, perhaps as well.
Yeah.
But I don't see how they can run 3 houses with no income, because that's literally where they are, isn't it?
Well, and they're paying for 2 children to go to, I imagine, some very high-priced schools. Yeah. The security for 4 members of their family. Somebody's got to pay to keep as ever afloat and to make it's on life support. So there are a lot of expenses that, I mean, every time I see Meghan Markle, she's got a new $200,000 bangle on her wrist. Or a new engagement ring because she's never wearing the one Harry gave her. Right. So, I mean, their lifestyle is very expensive. I don't know how they're going to continue to manage. Somebody else is going to have to die, which actually sounds horrible to say because some have suggested that Harry's just creeping around to ensure he gets an inheritance from his father. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, you're like, is it Diana's money they're living off of? Is it his great-grandmother's money they're living off of? Did he get anything when Queen Elizabeth or Prince Philip passed away? How is he functioning? Because this is not a man that has a normal 9 to 5, and it's very strange.
Johnny says he can get him some smoke. Okay, Johnny, thanks for that. We'll pass your number on to him if you need to. And what about William in all of this as well, by the way? Because, I mean, he still is not speaking to him as far as we know, right?
He's not speaking to his brother. And do you remember that it was just months before? So Catherine, we know, was going to the doctor quietly and privately in the months leading up to the announcement that she was having lower abdominal surgery. And then months later, we find out it's cancer, and she has cancer, and she's dealing with cancer. But remember, in the weeks, if not days, leading up to the lower abdominal surgery announcement, Omid Scobie's In-Game, the Dutch version, leaked to media over there, claimed inside that book that King Charles and the Princess of Wales were the royal racists. And so while she's trying to figure out what's wrong with her, while she's quietly seeing doctors and navigating this very scary time in her life, all of the headlines, all of the newspapers are saying Omid Scobie's book says she's the royal racist. That had to be such a difficult period for her, not to mention the stupid stuff that Harry wrote about in Spare. You know, Catherine looked irritated when Meghan asked her to share her lip gloss. I'm sorry, but I'm not sharing my lip gloss with Meghan. Right. Like I've seen the pilot episode of the new Beverly Hills 90210 when her head pops up out of someone's lap. I'm not sharing my lip gloss with Meghan Markle. Those private text messages between the two in Spare. I would be so angry, and I do believe that Prince William is frustrated at Prince Harry and wants to protect his family, not just his wife, but his children, from these very selfish, unpredictable, undisciplined, and erratic individuals.
Yeah, I know. They're ghastly. They're just horrible, horrific. What's the American reaction been? Just finally.
Honestly, you know, Cookie Queens just premiered here in the United States. It was beat by a 70-minute montage of cats on skateboards. Not a great sign. The interest in them is just dead. Their influence is dead. What remains is a morbid curiosity. People are committed to the soap opera, and they're only interested in these two because of their proximity to the British royal family. And that's why they're moving to the United Kingdom, because they so desperately need it, because otherwise they're irrelevant. And what skills do they have? They're very limited, the both of them, in what they can do, produce, create, and how they generate income. And so I think we're over it. I think we're over them. But and we're so much more committed to the Prince and Princess of Wales. We really love William and Catherine. But I don't think that they're the head. We'll be talking about it for a few days, but once they're gone, I think that they're going to be off our radar unless they continue to misbehave.
Yeah. No, I think good riddance would be my suggested title of a headline if they were going to write something about it there. But there we are. Kinsey, great to see you as ever, looking amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I'm sure we'll be talking lots more in the next couple of weeks because there's going to be plenty to say about their departure, their dislocation or uncoupling maybe from America. So thank you for sending them back. Nat. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Kinsey Schofield there. Thank you. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. What a beautiful woman. Now, coming up, we've got a load of great guests. Sunil Sharma's coming up next. We've got lots and lots to talk to you about, in addition to the whole Harry and Meghan circus. Don't forget, it's not just that we talk about here on the show. Also, I just wanted to mention this, and I know you might have heard that I've written a book called Fake News, right? But I've got a great piece of an update for you from Mike Fairclough, who's my publisher, who says that this very day, Fake News has now been marked as #2 in the most sold Amazon charts for this week. Out of millions of books on Amazon competing against the world's biggest authors and publishers, it is now ranked as #2 bestseller for the whole week, and it's got a special blue badge now apparently,
that is massive.
which is really big. I mean, and I know I shouldn't be singing my own praises, but it really, I mean, it's actually great. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of you for buying it, and it's really meant an awful lot to me because I've always wanted to write a book.
Yeah, I know.
And I have written a couple, but they've never been published. But this one's out. I'm working on the next one, and also we're going to be recording over the next few days the audio book, which is going to come out as well. So for those of you who haven't read it and don't want to actually physically read it, you'll be able to listen to me reading it to you very shortly. Which will be very exciting indeed. So thank you once again for all of your beautiful good wishes and help in all of that. So let's get some news, shall we, with Edward Hughes.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Edward Hughes. Prince Harry and Meghan are preparing to move back to the UK later this month, with their children Archie and Lilibet enrolled to start school in September, 6 years after leaving for California. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has launched a pandemic-style national drive to get rough sleepers off the streets before Christmas, while also praising greater public control of bus services in the West Midlands. Russia has warned the UK of consequences after Ukraine used British-made drones in attacks. Burnham has responded by reiterating 100% support for Ukraine. Heavy, thundery downpours are set to continue across the UK, with a risk of flash flooding after the recent dry spell. It's also GCSE results day for many students in England. A people smuggler exposed in a BBC investigation has been arrested and charged with immigration offences. That's the roundup of the top stories this morning. Later, Tigers.
No. Now, because we've just heard Edward Hughes there, do you know what would be really funny? Would be if we played that clip we've got of Meghan and Harry's first kiss. You know why? Because have a listen to the person who's narrating the story, right?
Oh,
and
it might
might.
one of our favourites.
Well, it is, and I think people might be interested to see who it is. See if you can
People
reconcile.
say in the comments what they think he's doing whilst he's narrating.
Yes, good idea. Yeah, while you listen to this clip of Harry and Meghan's first kiss at their wedding, wonder about the person narrating it and what he's doing. Have a look.
Bride looking radiant. And there is the kiss that everyone was hoping for and waiting for.
Wow, that was a service and a half, wasn't it?
Wow, you took the words right out of my mouth, and what an exquisite scene. We see them coming down the west steps, the step liners there, the magnificent floral displays behind, and we saw just a glimpse of that utterly divine tiara, Queen Mary's diamond bandeau.
Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to take a picture there.
Your arse.
Yeah, sorry. I can't get the angle right, though.
No.
I don't know how he did
What
that.
you said last night was good.
Yeah, thank you. That was, well, I was able to stand with the mirror behind me, like Christo style. You know, that was easy. But it's not so easy to do it when you're actually at the desk.
No.
So, I mean, good luck to him. That was, of course, Hugh Edwards.
Yeah, please send your pictures of your arse.
Yeah, no, please don't do that. But the trouble is, you hear Hugh Edwards, and all I'm thinking is, who's he texting while he's saying all that? You know, what's he sending out from behind the desk at the BBC?
Uncharitable, really.
Yeah, can't really say that. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's true though.
Well, it is true. Actually.
I mean, he has been convicted, hasn't he, of an offence? That's true. We don't know what he's doing, by the way. Maybe we should try and get an update. Yeah, Pooch says he wants to give him a show. Should we give him a show? I don't think we would. Samantha says, "Congrats on your book, Mike. Super chat. Yes, please, for the audio book." Yeah, absolutely right. Now let's talk to Sunil Sharma because I'm sure he's got plenty to say about some of the stories in the papers this morning. Not least the front page of the Daily Mail and Daily Express about this new guide for migrants who want to settle in this country who might not understand what the rules are. Sunil, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, I can't quite believe that the Home Office thought this was a good idea to put out. In the UK, both people must say yes to sex. This is called consent. If you have sex with someone who does not want to, this is called rape. Rape is a serious crime. It is still rape if you are married to the person or in a relationship and they agreed once but changed their mind. I mean, seriously?
It shows how far we've fallen. The fact that we have to do a guide like this to try and stop rape from happening in the UK. I mean, it's just a disgrace. All they should be saying is the way to stop rape and sexual assault continue to climbing the way it is to control our borders. It's so simple. Like the numbers are just so astronomical. There are so many people that are coming into this country that don't want to adapt to Western culture. They actually hate Western culture. They have a complete disdain for it. We're enabling them to come to this country. We're then protecting them, and then we're having to then produce stupid stuff like this to convince them not to rape women. If you're somebody who's coming to this country and you're not sure if it's okay to rape a woman, don't come. And I think that should be the message. It shouldn't have been a bloody pamphlet to explain about not raping and beating up women. It's a disgrace. And the people who publish that should be embarrassed of themselves, and all they should be doing is saying we need to control the borders ASAP. We need to do some really immediate action towards it, because this is just getting ridiculous now. The figures are coming out in terms of the costs on migrants on benefits, the amount on universal credits. It's just getting worse and worse, and this is just another example of it. It's embarrassing. It's a genuine embarrassment. Imagine people across the rest of the US or wherever across the globe that are reading this stuff. It just, yeah. And then you got people like, sorry, Sadiq Khan, who's saying that there aren't crimes in London, there aren't issues in London, and that things are getting better. It makes a complete mockery of that. I think this is just a really, really massive embarrassment.
It is, but isn't it also indicative of the way that the kind of establishment and the left in particular want to bend over so far backwards that they don't see how ridiculous they look? Because they're so desperate to justify that, the reason that they commit crimes, first of all, they told us they didn't commit any crimes, and actually most of them are engineers and doctors and people that are coming here to start a new life, and, they might be economic migrants, but, they're fleeing war, and they're really good people, and they're kind, and they're practically, like the Good Samaritans all getting out of these boats. Now suddenly they're going, well, yeah, they might not all be that nice, and some of them are committing crimes, but it's not really because they're bad people, it's because they don't know what the rules are. Which is such a ridiculous argument that it's insulting to ordinary individuals living here.
If you go to a foreign country, especially if you go there to move, emigrate, and live in that country, it's your job to learn the rules. It's your job to climatize to that environment. It's your job to adapt to that environment, not the other way around. And I think the UK and West in general has completely lost that. It's lost its principles and values, what it stands for, being built on largely Judeo-Christian values, has completely lost all of that. So now you're in this weird situation where, because there are no values and principles that are being acted by the respective leaders in the last 10, 20 years, is that we're on a backward trajectory of now that we're having to even fight for the most basic things. We're having to fight to tell people not to rape a woman. This is so, like, we've gone back in time almost. And I think like the reality is unless there's serious change, I think things will just get worse. And it is definitely a left problem. It's not specifically just to Labour, but just generally left-leaning problem, whether it's media, academia, everywhere, that have just been completely taken over by this nonsense. No one is saying that there are good people in different countries and that there are morally nice people in different cultures, but the reality is, in any place in the world, you respect the law of the land. There is clear rules and history in this country, and people should respect and adopt them. But however, I don't think anyone is right now, and I don't think even the leaders actually respect them in the first place, which is the biggest concern. And I think it's reflective. It's reflective with how they've acted with Jason Ardern, how they've reacted to that whole situation in terms of, the way they've defended a repeat liar, a compulsive liar, somebody who's cheated of you through DEI, somebody who's been enabled by DEI, and then now when anyone tries to talk about it or tries to have that discussion about how bad DEI is in academia, we're labelled as being unempathetic to the fact that he killed himself. It's ridiculous. This suicidal empathy is going to destroy Western culture and destroy the UK until somebody really takes decisive action.
Yeah, well, William Yarwood made the point this morning when he was in First Thing, talking about how it's not about just what the rules of engagement are or what the laws of Britain are. It's about basic human decency. I mean, if you're coming from a country where that kind of activity is encouraged and is not illegal, and you can actually, happily molest children, sexually assault women, beat them up, kill them, if you're coming from that society, what the hell are we doing letting you in to live in Britain? One. Two, if you are now going to defend having done something like that here by saying, oh, I didn't know it was wrong, well, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. And like the reality is there are some things that there are some people, some cultures that are just incompatible with Western culture or with UK culture. That's not a racist thing to say. That's just a reality. I don't think there's certain parts of the world where I can live. that doesn't mean I hate those places or those places hate me. It's just because our culture and the values that I believe in are different. And that's just the reality of the situation. You can't live in an environment where every single culture matters the same, where every single historic value is exactly the same. The reality is everyone is different. And I think what we've done is we've gone down to such a tolerance brigade that we tolerate so much that we've completely forgotten about what we believe in, what we think is important, what we value. And I think it's disgraceful. And like I think it's maybe sometimes a bit easier for me to say just naturally not being white because you don't get accused of being racist every 5 seconds. But like there is amazing things about Britain and its history and its values that I just don't think the current leaders have actually really thought about. I don't think they've actually really deeply thought about why Britain is Britain, why the way it grew throughout history. And I think instead what they've done, they've replaced that with tolerance being the most important thing for the UK, which is an absolute joke. Nowhere else in the world outside of Europe is doing this apart from us. We are literally killing ourselves as a country by taking these actions. And you imagine now that there are people that are having to be educated about not raping a person. I mean, it's ridiculous. The fact that they feel there's such a big problem, because clearly there's a problem. You wouldn't produce that pamphlet if there's not a problem. And so they think that this is such a problem that a pamphlet is the way forward, rather than taking a good hard look at themselves and saying, okay, we have a rape problem. Where is this coming from? Let's actually do an analysis. They don't want to share the numbers. They don't want to share the ethnicities. They don't want to share where it's coming from. We all know where it's coming from. We all know why it's happening. We all know London is the rape capital of Europe. We know that it's just getting worse and worse. And at the same time, there's been a drastic change in mass migration. There's been a drastic change in the streets of the UK. People who moved to this country in the 60s, 70s, they did not move to the UK to be a part of this, part of what's going on now. They moved to be a part of Great Britain. And I think the big difference, and I know this is maybe generalizing a little bit, but I think the big difference between migrants in the 60s, 70s compared to now is the ones that came in 60s and 70s, they came to be a part of Britain. They came to be a part of British values. They came to be a part of British culture. The people who are coming in now to the UK don't want to do that. They don't care about British culture. In fact, a lot of them actually hate British culture. They think that they can get away with violent acts. They come here purely economically. They come here purely to harm people, and they come here knowing that there are going to be no consequences for them. That is the reality of so many people coming to the UK now, and I think it's getting worse. And the rhetoric isn't strong enough, because if you're somebody who's thinking of coming to the UK and you're seeing that the government has to tell people about trying to stop people from raping another person by doing a pamphlet, you must be thinking, I can come to this country and do whatever I want. And I think that's exactly what people who are coming into the UK now are doing. They're doing exactly what they want. And I think it's a real shame that there isn't a strong enough pushback.
I know, because it's not just women now that are in trouble from this kind of activity, that men are as well. We had that terrible case up in Harrow this week. Mark says this: I can't wait to see the Home Office pamphlet for terrorists. It's not acceptable to create ricin in your bedroom. Building a bomb could affect your asylum claim. This country has gone to the dogs. I mean, that's kind of the literal kind of next step, isn't it? When you start saying to people, oh, I didn't know that blowing people up was bad. We can do it in my country. So, you know, and again, the people who came here many decades ago from other countries were coming here to work. And an awful lot of these people who are coming in are not coming here to work because they know that they're going to get a whole load of free stuff as soon as they land.
Well, that terrorist point, I would argue it's already happening. There are examples of terrorist groups that are recognized as terrorist groups in parts of the Middle East that are not seen as terrorist groups in the UK. How is it that there are countries in the Middle East who have far more experience of what goes on with terrorism? How are they banning people and the UK aren't? How are they banning? How are they identifying terrorist groups? And then the UK are saying, no, they're not terrorist groups, or how does that make any sense? Like it's the most stupid thing that's going on in the UK. So I would argue with the terrorist thing, it's already happening. And I think if it wasn't for maybe some really good counter-terrorist people in the UK that we haven't seen attacks and we haven't seen things happen, but that is already happening. I don't think that's something that will, or that could potentially happen. I think it's happening right now. The sympathy towards them is an embarrassment. And I think there needs to be, and this is something that Reform, Restore, the Conservative Party have to do better with, which is clearly identifying what is British values and British culture. It's not good enough just to say control the borders. It's not good enough just to deport people. I think you need a clear vision and a clear identity towards what Britain is, because I think there's a lot of people who feel lost in this country. I think, and I think that's one of the reasons that these people are able to manipulate what's going on in the UK, the migrants coming in now, because they are seeing almost an open canvas to do whatever they want, because there is no clear identity to the country. You got to think about how, it's only a few months ago how disgraceful it was when people were getting called racist for waving the English flag. Like, there is such an identity crisis in Britain, which is, again, a really stupid thing when you think about the amount of history Britain has. We compare it to America, where America has far more patriotism, has far more progressive nationalism. How is it a country that's a 200-300-year-old country is far more nationalistic, far more patriotic than we are? I think that is an embarrassment. And I think just even me saying the word nationalist, I think has turned, every time you say that word in the UK, it feels like you're referencing Adolf Hitler, you're referencing Joseph Stalin. No, nationalism is a really good thing. It can be anyway. It can be a really good thing to be proud of your country, to want the best for your country. Of course, there are versions where it's bad, but I would argue right now that there is such a weak nationalistic approach in Britain that we're allowing and enabling these sick people to come to this country, do what they want, and then we post a pamphlet on social media afterwards telling them to stop. It's a real shame. But yeah, I think going back to Reform, Restore, the Conservatives, whoever, I think there needs to be a much longer and stronger conversation about British identity and culture. It's not just the economics of it. I think there is actually a real identity crisis in UK right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sunil, great to see you, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. A lot of people say you're talking a great deal of common sense, as we get all the time here on the show. Thank you very much indeed. What a sensible man, says Mark, speaking from the heart and the truth. Wow. It's true. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. We've got a problem in this country. We've got many problems. We're going to explain to you exactly how it's happening, because Jamie Jenkins is coming up next, and he's going to tell us exactly what the problem is in terms of the numbers of people simply coming to this country from elsewhere, who not only don't share our values, but who are basically on the take and who are getting benefits when they're not supposed to be getting them. It's extraordinary. Jamie, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. We had a miracle this week. We had some rain in Wales. I don't know what's going on.
Blimey. Yeah, we had some. We had a little bit here. It doesn't seem to have made a lot of difference, but it's a lot cooler. So all these kind of nutcases that were going on about how, we need wildfire protection and we need to be worried about spontaneously combusting and burning up and going off into the ether. They're not talking about it anymore. So suddenly it's 17 degrees.
Oh, we had one of the Plaid Cymru ministers coming out yesterday in the Welsh government, Mike, saying we need to do a little bit more to prepare next year for wildfires. It's like stating the bloody bleeding obvious, absolute bonkers, Mike. And a lot of these wildfires, if not all of these wildfires, people are starting them deliberately as well. So the land doesn't spontaneously combust on its own. Normally somebody's behind it, Mike.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's what they find almost in every case, don't they? That this is why they decided to ban, those disposable barbecues, because apparently people were having disposable barbecue parties and then setting fire to the land around them. But, let's talk a bit about following on from what Sunil was saying there. A couple of pieces of information that came in from the Centre for Migration Control, who were looking yesterday at some of the universal credit numbers that came out from the Department for Work and Pensions. Something like 1.3 million migrants are now on universal credit. ONS data suggesting a further 623,000 are claiming a non-universal credit benefit combination. So basically nearly 2 million migrants claiming benefits in Britain.
Yeah, Mike, and I know we keep getting told, don't we, that migrants are coming over here to contribute to society. But there's a few other stats, I suppose, we can layer on top of that. Is
Yeah.
that over the last few years, Mike, so the Universal Credit stats come out. They're published by the Department for Work and Pensions.
Right.
And Ian Duncan Smith, of many, many years ago, is trying to get everybody to migrate over to Universal Credit. So some of the increases we're seeing in the number of people on Universal Credit is because they were all on all these other different legacy benefits and they've been moving them all over. But what's remarkable, Mike, is so if we look at, say, April 2022 and we look at April 2026, we've got a 4-year period. The number of people on Universal Credit's got up 50%. So, and part of that is because people have been moving over. There is increases in the last couple of years under the Labour government, though, of more people on benefits. That's a fact. So, employment's going down. We'll touch on that in a second. And then if we look at where we've seen huge levels of migration in recent years as well, which is like India, Pakistan, basically people from outside the European Union. If we look at basically non-EEA countries, so the EEA, Mike, just for the viewers and listeners, that's the European Economic Area. Right. If we look at that, so when you compare that 50% increase that we've seen for basically the overall caseload on Universal Credit, for the non-EEA countries, it's gone up 150%, Mike, 3 times as much of an increase.
Right.
And we keep getting told, yeah, they're coming over here, they're contributing. Well, they're obviously disproportionately taking more out of the system in benefits. And this country, cannot afford it, Mike. We're seen as some people as the benefit system of the world. It cannot continue. Think of the foreign aid we start checking across the rest of the world. Charity begins at home, Mike. People should be coming to this country to contribute. And I've said to you on the show in recent weeks, we need to stop all migration, totally stop all migration until young people have got jobs. We just literally got to focus on them and stop people coming in and taking benefits or taking jobs from young people.
Well, that's the thing. And at the moment, that doesn't look as if it's going in the right direction at all, does it? Because there's another stat that you put out yesterday, 94,000 fewer payroll employees in Britain now than there were a year ago. And it was already down last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, so, no rocket science, Mike. So we've lost 94,000 payroll jobs, down 13,000 in the last month. Now, sometimes it gets revised, the latest figure does, but the general direction of travel is south, Mike, isn't it? 183,000 since the election. So these are real people, real jobs gone. Vacancies
and real
now.
Taxes that would be being paid into the system as well.
Yeah, and vacancies, Mike. So obviously when you lose your job, you look for another you look for things. Vacancies are at their lowest level since 2014 when you take out the pandemic years.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, when ONS have done their vacancy survey, they've asked some of these smaller employers, why have you got fewer vacancies than what you had? And they've come out and said that the higher labour costs that Rachel Reeves bloody stuck into the country has meant that they can't afford to recruit people. So the taxes that basically have been put up means fewer people are paying them because fewer people are working.
Yeah.
And what happens, Mike? They go on to Universal Credit. And we've touched on the nationality side of Universal Credit, but it's now Universal Credit, Mike, at a record high. 8.4 million people are on Universal Credit. Again, some of that has increased in the last year because of people moving from other benefits onto it. But the migration from all these other benefits has pretty much stopped, Mike. So it's going up. Benefits are going up. Jobs are going down. Who could have predicted this? Me and you have been talking about this for the last couple of years, haven't we?
Well, we have. And there's no sign of any kind of growth in the economy at all. In fact, there's a piece in the Mail today, so much for a cost of living crusade, because we found out yesterday that I think as you predicted, inflation's up to 2.9%. I still say, as I always say to you, when these figures come out, that's not even close to what the real figure is, because there's another piece saying rail fares could rocket by 4.2%. It looks as though energy bills are forecast to hit a 3-year high. Everything is up, up, up. Some things are up as much as 50% over the course of the last couple of years. I don't know where they keep getting this 3% from, because everybody knows that actually it's a lot more expensive now to do everything than it was just even this time last year.
Yeah, and the thing with inflation, Mike, even when inflation, say, comes down, some people get confused by that. So when inflation comes down, unless it goes negative, so you get deflation, all it means, Mike, is that those increases that we saw in the last few years, it's just going up slightly smaller, but it is creeping back up. The Iran war is a little bit of a factor and all of that, Mike.
Yeah.
But you're right. These things are going in the wrong direction. we got a cost of living crisis in this country. What was interesting on Newsnight a couple of nights ago was Dale Vince, your old mate who you used to have on your old show, Mike. Dale Vince, he was interviewed on Newsnight.
Yeah.
And he's been obviously against new oil and gas fields because Trump's been banging on about it and Burnham's blowing the wind to perhaps open up some oil and gas field. He was actually saying, yeah, this isn't a bad idea. So whichever way the wind blows, that's what he's kind of talking about now, Mike. And I've said, again, and repeatedly on this show, that if you want to get the cost of living down, everything in society, Mike, generally uses energy. Even basically, if you go to your local cafe, they got to use energy to make your cup of tea, your coffee, or whatever. Get your bloody energy costs down. Now, whether or not it'll reduce prices, who knows? Because whether they get passed on to the consumer, you don't know. But prices in this country are ridiculously high because our energy costs are high, because of the last Conservative government, because of this Labour government. And that's ultimately where we go. You can't have a bonker situation, Mike, where we're importing gas from bloody Norway to try and create energy, and we're leaving it in the North Sea at our side of the bloody bed. It's just absolute nonsense, Mike. And so that's the thing that the country needs to do. And another fact, Mike, that came out this week, which is remarkable, going back to what we touched upon at the start here, there's over 150,000 immigration and asylum appeals in the system at the moment, Mike. 150,000, because basically they try and get asylum in this country, or they want to stay in the country from immigration. And what happens? They get rejected. So they then appeal. And who pays
but they
for
don't
that?
go anywhere then, do they?
Well, that's the problem. And do you know the average wait for these bloody appeals? 67 weeks. Like, what are these lawyers doing? They're absolutely coining it.
Right.
And then the government were asked, so basically you then have an appeal and then you're told, nope, you got to go. And the government have admitted some of these people, Mike, they haven't got a clue where they are. So they just vanish.
Yeah.
So people are coming into this country illegally. They're claiming asylum. They're getting rejected. They vanish in. And who's paying for it all? Us lot, Mike. This government needs to get a grip. Stop them bloody coming in at the first place before trying to clean the mess up afterwards.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Jamie, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. As ever, go and find Jamie's Substack, where he's got lots of really, really interesting information and great statistics. And he does some really good analysis of it all as well. He breaks it down for you and he explains all the things that are going on. A couple of super chats for you. One from John. Is the Home Office accepting that the cultural differences between Western and Middle Eastern, North African, Islamic countries is huge? This leaflet proves all their arguments for migration are BS. Exactly right. Because how on earth can you justify having to tell people what is legal and what is not legal when it's clearly very obvious that what is morally wrong is morally wrong? It doesn't matter what the law says. When they say when they say the migrants don't know about British laws, whatever happens to the legal rule, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Says Judas. Go, yeah, very true. Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, certainly those people who have tried to use that as an excuse as to why they did what they did have not been stopped from going to prison. You know, they have, but they certainly do still use it as an excuse and say, oh, well, I didn't know it was illegal to do that. Can these politicians be tried for treason, says Lulu Rose? Maybe Stephen Barrett knows. It's a good question. We'll ask him that when he's back from his holidays. The Shepherd says, who for 1 minute thinks migrants reading a leaflet will make any difference at all? The blind ignorance of some is beyond belief. Heads are in the sand. It's true. It's absolutely bonkers. The whole idea that this leaflet is going to make any difference whatsoever, and whoever came up with it and passed it through a Home Office committee and got the Home Office to sign it off and got presumably Shabana Mahmood to say, oh yeah, this is great. Definitely something we should be doing. It's a joke, isn't it? Absolutely, that's a joke. Coming up, Lee Harris is going to be here. Ted Newson's here as well. Godfrey Bloom later on. Lord Monckton and Will Geddes is joining us. Will Geddes is going to be filming his new show coming up. What's it called? Front Line, isn't it? Yeah. Which is going to be a very exciting scenario. I think we've asked for some questions from Substackers to put to Will Geddes if you want to do that. So send them in by all means about sort of anything to do with security, anything to do with cyber security, anything to do with personal safety and all of that. We'll be talking to him a little bit later on as well. Shall we get some news before we go anywhere else? And this is, of course, Edward Hughes.
Hello, I'm Edward Hughes. Prince Harry and Meghan are preparing to move back to the UK later this month, with their children, Archie and Lilibet, enrolled to start school in September, 6 years after leaving for California. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has launched a pandemic-style national drive to get rough sleepers off the streets before Christmas, while also praising greater public control of bus services in the West Midlands. Russia has warned the UK of consequences after Ukraine used British-made drones in attacks. Burnham has responded by reiterating 100% support for Ukraine. heavy thundery downpours are set to continue across the UK, with a risk of flash flooding after the recent dry spell. It's also GCSE results day for many students in England. A people smuggler exposed in a BBC investigation has been arrested and charged with immigration offences. That's the roundup of the top stories this morning. Later, Tigers.
That's very matter of fact, isn't it? That's a roundup of the top stories this morning. Has he got all sensible? Well, maybe he saw Fiona was over in Russia and thought he better sharpen his brain up a bit again. I don't know. Difficult to keep up with old Edward Hughes, isn't it? Let's talk to Lee Harris, though, because Lee is a man after our own heart, very sensible. There's so much madness going on today, Lee. I think it's hard to know where to begin, really, isn't it? I mean, you've got this ridiculous pamphlet going around telling people, don't go around beating up women. Women are equal. They don't need your permission to go and get a job. Don't rape them even if you're in a relationship with them. Make sure you have their consent. I mean, has the world gone completely stark, staring, bonkers mad?
You'd think so, Mike, wouldn't you? I mean, I didn't know how to react to this immediately, apart from just saying it was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
This is a huge admission from the government that we're not safe in our own country. It's a huge admission that the people they're importing are obviously not from cultures that match our own and are already causing big problems in our communities. I think that we have to be honest with ourselves here. Not all cultures are equal, and men are coming from cultures where women are treated as second-class citizens, where the behaviour of women is tightly controlled, consent is viewed differently. And I'm sorry, if you have to be taught, basic human decency, these are things that you don't need to be taught about, then you shouldn't be in this country. I'm genuinely shocked by it, Mike. It's a huge admission from the government. And to be honest, I think it's only downhill from here in terms of their messaging on this. I don't think they can come back from this.
I don't see how they can, because it lays bare, does it not, the belief system in the Home Office, where they've actually finally acknowledged that they've got a problem. Because if they don't have a problem, why on earth are they releasing this kind of information to people who are clearly criminals coming to this country and assaulting women?
Mm. Yeah, where are our leaflets? Where are the leaflets for the British people to warn us about dangerous men, thousands of undocumented men who we know nothing about coming into our communities? Let's not forget, I'm sure we could never forget, we've had migrants that literally just come off the boats and murdered British people. We have Rhiannon White, we have Wayne Broadhurst. This is something that I believe has gone way past calling for a national emergency. I mean, we shouldn't be dropping leaflets, Mike. We should be closing the borders. Every single dinghy that comes across, well, they're not really small boats or dinghies anymore. No. Every single vessel packed with hundreds of migrants that comes across the channel should each individually be treated as a national security risk. I just don't understand why, especially when we've had terrorists, we've got IRGC terrorists crossing the channel. Obviously not every single migrant crossing the channel is a terrorist, but the fact that we have them crossing the channel, they've openly admitted it. I don't understand why the government aren't acting. How could you casually just allow this stuff to happen? If I was Andy Burnham, I could not sleep at night. I wouldn't sleep at night. I wouldn't have slept a wink since Wayne Broadhurst or Rhiannon White was murdered. I just don't understand how they can't do something. It's like we've got a completely powerless government. It's not just Andy Burnham. It's the Keir Starmer's government before him, and we cannot let the Conservatives get away with this either. A lot of this, in fact, the most of it happened under the Tory government. I don't trust any of them, Mike. Look where we are now.
I know, and I mean, in terms of the way that the immigration problem is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, the economy is now becoming a big problem too. Just talking to Jamie Jenkins there about the cost of living, which is going to get worse and worse and worse. Inflation is going to jump even higher than it's already at right now. We're going to get an energy bill forecast to go up to a 3-year high. Rail fares rocketing by 4.2%. I got this the other day on my Substack from Sands and Ted. I'm a pensioner and I haven't had my heating on for 2 years. This coming winter is my 3rd year. My groceries have doubled. I can't afford to go on car trips due to fuel costs, and there is no such thing as a holiday. This is becoming comparable to the Great Depression, and I'm positive that there are many worse off than me. I've worked all my life, have no benefits, and won't claim despite a couple of disabilities. These heating issues will be the death of people like me. And that, I think, is probably somebody who speaks for thousands and thousands of elderly people in this country. Maybe not just elderly people, but people who simply can't afford to live anymore.
Yeah, and it's not going away. I believe this will get worse. I mean, certainly from within business. I mean, I'm seeing companies now start to slow down. It feels a little bit like the build up to COVID. Businesses are starting to spend a little bit less money because they're worried about what's going to happen. We've got the highest tax burden in history. Cost of living for lots, well, most normal people now is becoming noticeably harder to afford things. And of course, we're not seeing any light on the horizon from the government either. We've had rumours this week about apparently there are some sensible people behind the scenes in the Labour Party advising Andy Burnham not to tax the rich. They're saying that it's an absolute bonkers policy. It's actually quite pleasing to hear that, because that's what they want to do, Mike. They want to chase off. I had a look yesterday. And the UK, behind China, has the highest capital flight in the world. More, I think, 16,000 millionaires and billionaires have left the country.
Yeah.
That means, billions less going in from tax, and we're going to have to pick up the bill. So sadly, I cannot see it getting any better. If anything, I think we're hurtling towards a quite frightening financial crisis, and we may well have to go cap in hand to the IMF.
Yeah, which won't help, because apparently we've been told this by both Mark Littlewood and Liam Halligan. If we did do that, the IMF haven't got enough money to bail us out. It's a lot worse than we were in the 1970s. They literally can't afford to do it. I know, but I mean, you talk about the flight of people with money. I'm also hearing from younger people who are saying things like, I don't think I want to have any kids in this country. I don't really want to raise my children in the current state of our society. So I think if I'm going to do that, I'm going to go and live abroad, go and find somewhere else to go. And a lot of young people also saying to me, we can't find jobs, there's nothing for us to do, there's no future for us. And then you look at the front page of the Times today, and you've got Shabana Mahmood once again wanting to punish wealthier people in the country, saying wealthy areas must take their fair share of asylum seekers. Well, I'm sorry, why? What's all this about a fair share of something that we never agreed to? We were told time after time by the Tories and by Labour that they're going to stop the boats, they're going to smash the gangs, they're going to stop all of this illegal migration, they're going to make it much more manageable, they're going to reduce the numbers of net migration. They all now think they've done it because more people are leaving. Yeah. But that's not the way it works. We've got more people coming in who we don't want, and more people going out who we want to keep.
Yeah, it's another sort of tacit admission, isn't it, that from Shabana Mahmood that it's a burden. People are having to put up with the burden of illegal migration into their communities. And you're absolutely right, by the way, about young people and the economy. They're moving to America, they're moving to Dubai. And why is that? Because they get to keep much more of their money. They can invest more into their own businesses. They're not treated like the enemy, as they are over here in the UK. I don't blame them in the slightest. And, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to do it because I want to stay here and fight, but I completely understand people who've had the thought, because I have, about not wanting to bring my children up in the UK, squinting, trying to work out where we're going to be in the next few years. I mean, it doesn't matter what scenario I look at, Mike, well over 90% of them end up in civil war, or at least in unrest if this doesn't get resolved. Yeah. I mean, you look at the way that the rhetoric has changed over, I would say, so quickly. I mean, I'm even talking over the last 24 to 48 hours with this leaflet drop and the admission from the Labour government, like Andy Burnham the other day, saying that, we're all going to have to play our part. We're all going to have to take our share of the burden. That language has dramatically changed. And we were even seeing the BBC. We saw that clip we discussed very briefly last week where Nick Robertson described the rage of the British people when he's talking about the small boats. Yeah, I don't know about you, Mike, but I see a lot of this rhetoric now building up and becoming a lot more frequent than it was. It feels like, yet again, we've had a massive attitude change. And I suspected this because of Operation Scatter. It is going to, the only good thing about this, and it is genuinely a good thing, is this is going to do two things. It's going to speed up the British people's attitude against the situation that we're in now. And that doesn't take much, because we've been against illegal migration and legal migration on such a scale for many years. And the other thing it's going to do is it's going to wake a lot of people up. And it's probably going to be the end of this Labour government. This is the start of the end of the Burnham bounce, if it hasn't already.
Yes, no, I think that's right. And with every sort of utterance now from him, he looks more and more ridiculous, doesn't he? He looks as though he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no clue. He keeps every now and again sort of going to his safe place, which is some kind of bus station.
Just vibes.
Yeah, well, I know. I'll go to Wolverhampton bus station for 3 hours. I can't imagine anything worse. Can you? Going somewhere like that and spending 3 hours there. It's absolutely
completely
ridiculous.
Detached from reality. And that's another thing that you can put into the mix is, obviously the Starmer government and the Burnham government, is you just look at them and they're completely vacant, absolutely vacuous. None of them are talking about the issues that really matter. No. None of them are talking about trying to stop illegal migration. None of them are coming up with any decent ideas to grow the economy. It's all completely flatlined. And you sort of combine that with leaflet dropping, teaching illegal migrants not to rape our women and children. You top that on top of the economy. I'm trying not to be too depressing this early in the morning.
It's not working.
You add all of that together and you get a big crunch.
You really do. And I mean, just as an insight into the way that the government has been working, or rather not working, since they got in. I don't know if you've seen the Guardian front page today. We've got Sue Gray, who was put in the House of Lords by Keir Starmer, who was hired by Keir Starmer away from Boris Johnson to be his chief of staff. She's now saying it was unbearable working for him. And it was terrible inside of Downing Street. She was worried people were recording her every 5 minutes to try and leak stories to the press. I mean, it's a nest of vipers. So she's now completely thrown him under the bus, despite the fact that he's made her career and he's given her a job for life in the House of Lords.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, when I read this, I'm sure you did the same, Mike. It was like, well, yeah, that sounds exactly right. Inside the behind closed doors in Keir Starmer's number 10, it was definitely chaos, and we could see it on the outside as well. The guy did not have a clue what he was doing, and certainly, the other thing that made me laugh about Sue Gray is she talks about like a den of vipers and how it was so difficult for her. Let's not forget who this woman is. She's the one who brought down Boris Johnson. Doing this report, she's just as bad as the rest of them. I think one of the things that leaked was about certain people, the chief of staff earning more than the prime minister. I remember thinking that Keir Starmer was just like a passenger of all of this. Everyone's arguing about people getting paid more than Keir Starmer, and he's just sat there like, oh well, at least I've got my protected pension. And he's just completely lost control of his staff and the operation behind number 10. But yeah, I've never been a fan of Sue Gray.
No,
I think she isn't her son also her son's relatively high up in the Labour Party as well. All seems a little bit.
Yeah, he got an MP's job, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. But no, it doesn't surprise me at all, Mike, that Keir Starmer's Labour government was a disaster. And those disasters, by the way, they haven't just disappeared overnight because Keir Starmer's not there. Exactly the same disasters there. And Andy Burnham's just putting on a brave face. We know he's doing that. We've had a little bit of visual signs of it hitting the reality buffers already, where he's kind of said he'll do one thing, like he'll prevent the release of those nasty, vile thugs who killed PC Harper, and then 20 minutes later he's changed his mind, saying, "No, actually."
Well, he keeps saying he's trying to stop them coming out, but now he can't do it, or he finds ways of.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah, and of course he's the prime minister. He can do anything he wants. I mean, if he wanted to keep them in, he could keep them in. Just order them not to be released. It's simple. That's it. The end.
Absolutely, that's simple as that.
I know, shocking. Anyway, Lee, listen, thanks for depressing everybody. Sometimes you just got to tell the truth. What can you do?
Have a lovely day, everyone.
But the great news is Harry and Meghan are coming back, so all's well with the world. For heaven's sake.
What did we do to deserve that, Mike?
I know. It's like just when you thought things were getting really, really awful, you hear old Ginge and Whinger return.
Do you mind me saying very quickly on that?
Yeah, go on.
What a sodding hypocrite.
I know.
I mean, he spent how many years slagging off the UK, saying how racist we all are, how horrible we all are.
Yeah.
They've made millions off of Netflix by doing these sad stories. And now they're coming back. I mean,
also, until yesterday, Britain was too dangerous to bring his kids to.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was I thought they needed security 24/7. It's all lies. No doubt they'll be telling us how they want privacy when they come back, Mike, and then they'll be signing more Netflix deals.
Yes, the privacy tour. We want privacy. Yeah, absolutely right. Lee, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Lee, they're talking to us. Lee Harris talking to us about the dreadful, dreadful news about everything that's going on at the moment. My beautiful seaside city. Says Stevie, is now a third world dumping ground, city of sanctuary. Well, that's the problem with Wales, apparently. I mean, we heard from William Yarwood this morning that there's a new sort of migrant camp being put together up in Flintshire, which is not really the sort of place that you want to put a load of migrants in, because I think there are going to be more migrants there than there are in the actual town itself, which is unbelievable. And old Shabana Mahmood wants more migrants to be distributed to more parts of the country, particularly to wealthier parts of the country, because they're not taking their fair share. It's unbelievable, isn't it? So many good stories today to talk about. Coming up, Ted Newsom's here. Should we do another clip from old Harry and Meghan?
Yeah, lovely.
Let's see, what haven't we done? What can we do that we haven't done? Or we could just go back and play one of the ones that we've already done.
Can we have a look at the no-no square, though, for the right migrants? Because that's going to stop you.
What's that one?
The Finnish ladies.
Oh, yeah, let's do that, yeah. Have a look at this.
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square. Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square.
What on earth is that?
Just insane, isn't it?
It's a Finnish video that was put together by some Finnish women.
It's called a no square. So there's a square in front of your body where you're not allowed to touch.
Oh, right. So this is another message to the nice people
Yeah.
that are coming here
Yeah.
from foreign parts who want to be engineers and doctors, and don't touch me there. Great. Marvellous, isn't it? South Park need to do a new episode on the privacy tour returning to the UK. They really should, actually. We should probably find that clip, the old South Park. We want privacy. We want privacy. Many of these invaders were burning the UK flag a few years ago. Well, it's true. It's absolutely true. Ted Newsom's here. Ted, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Mike.
Nice to see you. Welcome to Thursday, the 20th of August. Are you filled with the joys of spring? We need somebody to cheer us up.
The joys of spring.
Yeah.
Summer's coming to an end, isn't it?
Summer's coming to an end. Well, I was very happy this morning, though, when I came out of the house to discover that it was only 17 degrees. So, I mean, all of the sort of, hysteria about the, wildfires, the hysteria about the emergency alerts, the hysteria about, the world is burning up under the pressure of global warming / climate change. Apparently not.
Well, Andy's put the alert out. Everyone's phone's gone mental.
Yeah.
My mum got absolutely terrified by it. I felt
A
so
lot of
sad
people
for
did.
her.
Yeah, a lot of people did, because I mean, Pooch and I, we switched our alarms off years ago during COVID, I think.
Cool.
So we didn't get them. But funnily enough, on Friday night, my son got it because he'd got a relatively new phone, so and we had no idea what it was.
And of course, lo and behold, once he releases this alert, it goes fine.
Yeah.
And sitting on the tube today, I was absolutely fine, when normally I'd be absolutely sweltering.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, because the point is the weather changes. It changes all the time. And, we may well we get another heat wave before the end of September. They used to call
I've
it
got a bit more sunbathing to do, to be fair.
I mean, they used to call it an Indian summer.
Off on holiday, by the way.
Are you?
With the lads.
I am.
Going
I'm
off the lads. Where are you going?
Lisbon.
Lisbon, very nice.
Lisbon, yeah.
Now, Lisbon is a great city. A lot of I haven't been there actually that recently, but a lot of my friends have been recently, and they say it's a fantastic place to go.
I have to bring you back some fortified wine, Mike.
You might have to, some Porto.
Some
yeah.
Blanc.
If you do, make sure it's Graham's Port, because that's obviously the drink of choice in my house. But yeah, I mean, it's just. When you go abroad as well, I found this when I went to Cyprus. I don't know if you know I went to Cyprus.
Did you? Hold on.
Yeah.
What?
I did, yeah. Just a few weeks back, I went away. You were manning the fort manfully.
Oh, is that where you were?
And I was in Cyprus, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, and when you get a different perspective on the state of the nation, in a way, when you're somewhere else, because you can see how things work. Because you have to, I don't know what about you. I mean, we saw you in Clacton last week. I don't know what life is like there. I had a lovely time and thought that Clacton was a really nice part of the world. And it was a pleasant trip because we were only there for 2 days. But I mean, in London, you sort of feel constantly under sort of siege for one reason or another. There's a problem. I mean, yesterday I had to go to the gym. I got to the train. Went to get a bus. First, it was a 10-minute wait for that, which I know doesn't sound like much, but it is.
It is in London.
In London, it's 10 minutes is a long time. Then got to the tube, and the tube wasn't running. There was a problem, but nobody could tell us when the next train was going to be, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to make the appointment. And it's just one thing after another. It's quite wearing, I would say, life in general, isn't it?
There's always an excuse. I mean, I'm sure in a couple of years' time, when the lights finally do come off, if Miata keeps being as energy secretary, she's just going to say, "Oh, sorry, that's net zero. You've got to suck it up."
Yeah, right.
We've all got to pull together.
Yeah.
Just like taking in the migrants in a way, we've all got to pull together, suck it up.
Well, it's what they're
for the
saying about
greater
the
good.
water business at the moment is absolutely outrageous. Somebody just pointed out that in Portugal they just banned the burqa. That was a bit of news from yesterday.
Smart.
So you can't wear one when you go there. Make sure you don't put it on.
No, I won't have to pack my burqa then.
You know, just don't wear one. So what was I saying? I can't remember. We were talking about the whole business of the water business. That's right.
Yes.
You know, they're now saying 1 minute they're going to surge price water. They're going to start charging more money for it. Andy Burnham says, "Oh no, we're not going to let them do that," and then they go ahead and do it anyway. You know, and so people. I mean, almost everyone that I've been speaking to about the water bills that they're getting, the water bills have gone up. You know, we're told here that energy bills are going to hit a 3-year high.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing good to report, really, is there?
Well, it's a return to service, and for the best part of 2 years as Prime Minister, Keir Starmer was constantly saying, "Oh no, well we can't do this because we've got this organisation getting in the way, or these people want to do it and I'm too shy."
Yeah.
And Andy's done the same thing with the water companies, where essentially they want to do surge pricing because they haven't built any reservoirs.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
And now the taxpayer, or the bill payer, are the ones picking up the tab.
Yeah.
So,
but I've been
more
talking
fool
about
us.
not building any reservoirs, I must say, probably for the best part of the last 10 or 12 years, you know, and nobody's actually bothered to build one. They're still not building them as far as I can tell. Nobody's actually gone, "Oh, that was a mistake, let's build a reservoir." They're not doing it, are they?
No. I mean, we continue to talk a bit of common sense, and it never seems to break through for some reason. I mean, I don't know if it's because you're saying it, but no one seems to want to build a reservoir, and it's.
Well,
we've
the
got
reason
land.
I'm told, one of the reasons they don't want to is because it's environmentally unsound. Not so much because of the climate, but more about the kind of disturbing of the wildlife and the kind of the rewilding of the countryside.
Well,
what they
this
don't
is
want
what
is to build on it. Well, hang on a minute. They're building a load of houses. Why wouldn't you build a reservoir?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're very happy to build your kind of new build toy towns. But whenever it comes to vital infrastructure, whether that's making sure the grid is more sustainable, or making sure that we've actually got water, so you turn on the tap and water comes out, they just won't do it.
No. I mean, I went to a part of Sussex that I hadn't been to for a while because I used to go there all the time because it was down towards the beach, and the poor old dog Ziggy can't really get in the car anymore. But so I was driving down there, and the number of extra houses that have been built, it's quite remarkable, you know. I mean, there's entire swathes. There was one particular section which the last time I'd been there was under construction. It's now full of people and full of cars, but there's nobody actually making more room for all the people and all the cars.
Yeah.
And so
no
the roads,
utilities.
So there's no utilities. There's no shops to speak of, which are closer to where they live. So they still have to get in the car and drive to a shop. You know, the roads are the same size as they were. They haven't broadened and widened the roads. And presumably, they all need water, they all need electricity, they all need energy supply and all the rest of it. There just doesn't seem to be any joined up thinking at all.
Well, it's just a lack of foresight because you look at our electricity consumption and we've had millions and millions of people come into the country. Obviously, our population's increased through just people having children.
Well, we think it's gone up about, 10 million or something in the last
10 million.
five years or so?
And our average electricity consumption has actually gone down because it's that expensive. You'd think they'd have the actual forethought when they're building all of these homes to build out the grid a bit, make sure that it's cheap and reliable. At the moment, they're just putting wind turbines in the sea instead, and that's hardly bringing down our bills.
No, exactly right. I mean, there's a piece in the Mail today which says that customers are going cool on heat pump installations. Well, really? I mean, the only reason that anybody gets a heat pump installed is if they get it subsidised by the government anyway. All the companies that are making them are getting subsidised by the government anyway. But apparently installations of small-scale renewables on homes and small businesses had a record start to this year, driven by surging interest in solar panels and batteries. However, they've now gone down in the second half of the year because people just can't afford them.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the government's failing at their own goals because if we keep having expensive electricity, and by all accounts, this is going to be the highest electricity prices in 3 years this winter, we won't be able to kind of make heat pumps look attractive. We won't be able to make make anything electric look attractive.
Right.
So people are going to be stuck with their old gas boiler.
Yeah.
So even if they did want to rip gas boilers out and make it attractive to have these heat pumps, they're failing.
Yeah.
Electricity's too expensive.
Yeah, right.
So how about we build a few more gas-fired power stations, which are reasonably clean?
Yeah.
Let's bring down energy bills. Let's make it so that the grid doesn't have to constantly be balanced by NESO, which are constantly kind of facing shortfalls. They don't know what to do.
NESO, of course, is the newly named National Grid System.
The National Grid,
which
Quango,
they changed
really.
the name of it, and it's got worse.
It has,
right?
It has, like most of things in this country.
Right.
Interesting super chat here, Mike.
Yeah. I saw this. Yeah, this is good from Cookie Boy. The population density's gone up by 21% since 1997, and this is always an argument that gets used by the lefties when they say, "Oh, you know, they take more migrants in other countries in Europe." Well, yeah, that's because other countries in Europe are much less densely populated. Britain is one of the most densely populated countries in the world because it's a very small landmass with loads and loads of people. I think France is about the same number of people living in it, right?
Yeah, it is.
Muslims only buses in London very soon. You heard it here first, says LTL. Well, really? They could get rid of half the buses in London because every time I look at them, they're driving around empty, you know, because people just, there's too many buses, you know? So to go back to the density thing, you know, so I think I'm right in saying, Pooch, you'll know this. Is it that the French population is about the same as ours, but they've got a much bigger country?
It's 5 times bigger.
5 times bigger, yeah. So I remember when I was in Normandy a couple of years ago.
No one there.
There's literally nobody there. Yeah, I mean, we stayed in this lovely house which we rented in a little village where maybe there was probably a few hundred people living. But the place was just surrounded by fields. There was no, you could walk down the street and never see anybody, you know.
Well, the people are coming out of Normandy. They're not coming in. They're launching the boats off Normandy.
Well, yeah. This was quite far in, though. I mean, you know, it was quite a long way from the coast.
Okay. Well, I just don't get why we don't build power stations close to where we actually need the power. You talk about population density.
Yeah.
Let's have a few power stations in the outskirts of London rather than up in northern Scotland where they're planning on building these wind farms.
But do you not find as well that we are so sort of riven by health and safety regulations? I mean, we'll talk about the prison population, which has been in the news this week. Because of all the prisoners that may or may not be coming out to make more crime statistics go up. We're being told now that the prison system is already now full up again, even though they've already earmarked people to leave it, right? But one of the reasons why it's not actually doing what it says on the tin is that there are loads and loads of spaces in prison which can't be used. For example, there's a new prison up in Yorkshire where there's 350 spaces, but because they say they haven't got enough wardens to kind of look after them, they can't put anybody in there, so it's literally empty, right? There's other prisons where apparently, I was told this last week, some prisoners cannot be put in those prison cells because they're not health and safety passed, right? And the reason they're not health and safety passed is that they haven't got proper smoke alarms, because apparently they need to have a smoke alarm which is sensitive enough to tell the difference between somebody lighting a josh stick for cultural reasons.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Well, we need it.
Of course.
We need it.
And an actual fire. So apparently people were lighting josh sticks and the fire alarms were going off. And that's the reason we can't put people in prison. You just want to grab somebody by the throat and go, what's wrong with you?
Well, put
them in the bleeding prison.
This is the difference between foreign perception and what it actually is. Because you go to a European country and they still seem to think that Britain is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
You actually come here and there's an excuse for absolutely everything why it doesn't work.
Why you can't do it.
It's staggering.
It's the land of we can't do that. You know, it's not the land of can do. You know, imagine sort of North America.
Not my job, mate.
After the Second World War, when they completely rebuilt America and the whole Roosevelt kind of project and the Workers' Rights Initiative and all of that, and they built all the roads and they built all these buildings and bridges and all the rest of it. We're sort of in reverse.
The potholes alone would take 100 years.
We can't seemingly build it. We look at HS2. HS2 is no nearer completion now than it was a year ago. Right? And they still haven't actually laid any track.
And they've cut off all the lines
and they still haven't got any trains.
It doesn't actually go to the north.
It doesn't go anywhere, and it still costs 100 billion quid.
Because of course it does, because you've got to fill in a 30,000-page planning document and you've got to save the South British salamander or whatever.
Right. A couple of bats.
Yes, the bat tunnel, of course.
Yeah. A couple of comments here, Mike.
Unbelievable.
This is interesting.
Yeah, go on. France would need an extra 80 million more people to have the same population density as the UK. Crikey. Wow. That's amazing.
A super chat
And
here.
another one from Ruth, who says, Mike, Ted's amazing, gives me hope for the future. He does, he gives us all hope for the future. He's one of the few bright sparks that we have in this country, and so that's why we keep getting him on. Loyal says, Mike, we have a reservoir in Hanningfield, Essex. It has a visitor centre, a cafe, plenty of land to walk, etc., and wildlife is abundant. Well, maybe somebody should tell the Department for the Environment that actually you can still have wildlife and a reservoir.
Well, this is what I mean.
find it incredible that people's argument is that if you build a body of water, that somehow there won't be any wildlife. Why wouldn't there be any wildlife? If you fish in the water, birds fishing the water, surely you would have frogs. You would have, I mean, I'm not David Attenborough, but I can do his voice.
Shabana Mahmood.
Yeah, let's have a bit of Shabana Mahmood. Yeah, because she's now decided she's come up with a great idea actually, not just to give us more migrants to take their fair share. She also thinks it'd be quite a good idea to send them somewhere else.
Oh, never thought of that.
Yeah, no, nobody's thought of this before. Have a look at this.
It was the incoming Labour government, rightly, who said that the Rwanda plan that the Tories had was not working and did not work. What is being discussed by other European countries are different models that they are considering. We are also looking at third country hubs, returns hubs models. These are live conversations that are happening across Europe, but in other parts of the world as well. The most important thing, I think, in any deal that we strike now or in the future is about its effectiveness. Is it actually going to be able to do the thing that it says it's going to do? Can it do so in a way that is compliant legally as well? And that is the test, the hurdle.
Yeah, so that's really, really sort of groundbreaking, that, isn't it? Send them to another country.
Who would have thought
like Rwanda, maybe.
Rwanda.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah. Isn't that the first thing he did?
And now we've brought it back.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense,
I
doesn't
suppose
it?
that would suggest that he now would regret doing that, perhaps. I mean, it's just begging his belief, doesn't it? Ted, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed for popping in. Enjoy Lisbon. I'm sure you will. Be great. Be good fun.
Are you a drinker, Ted?
I am a drinker.
Yeah.
I'm going to have plenty of wine.
What's the
plenty of, I don't know, sardines or whatever fish.
Sardines, definitely. Yeah. What's the Portuguese beer? Is it Cruz Campo? Is that
Sagres.
Sagres, that's
Super
it.
Bock.
That's
it.
They're good. He knows his stuff, this boy. Yeah, Sagres is great. I've had that before. Very good indeed. I've got this, right? And I don't want to keep going on about the book, but I'm going to just keep going on about the book.
Great comment
because I've got a lovely... Mike Fairclough, who's the publisher of Free Press Publishing, has sent me a really nice review by somebody who just gave it 5 stars, right? And said this, I got a shock when I first saw how thin the book is, but it packs a massive amount into those pages and in keeping with how many people like their information these days, short and sweet. I read the whole thing on the day it arrived, picking it up after my 4 a.m. tinkle to finish it off and wonder which lucky friend could pass my copy over. It's an absolutely wonderful read, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone who's interested in freedom of speech and how the mainstream media is out to con us. By the way, if you like what you've read, take some action, watch Mike's show on YouTube and join the Free Speech Union. Can't wait for the next one. She's bought 4 copies for her friends and given them out.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a couple.
So isn't that great? Very nice.
This point here, Mike.
Go on.
Screen.
Mike telling us he wrote a book is fake news.
Very good.
Do you know what people asked me actually?
What?
Did you really write it or is it AI?
Oh, right.
Which I find quite insulting because I don't really use AI at all. I don't like to because I actually quite enjoy writing. I like doing it. It fills my...
It's a nice thing to do, isn't it?
It is a nice thing to do. I wrote a couple of thousand words last night, actually, while I was listening to a couple of other things going on. So, coming up in the next hour, we've got, I think, Christopher Monckton, Lord Monckton, Godfrey Bloom is here, Will Geddes as well, and Will Geddes later on today is going to be recording his first ever show for UK Live. So that's going to be really interesting. We've got some questions that people from Substack have sent in for him. So we'll be passing those on to him as well.
We've got one more, Mike. Sorry,
yeah,
messing around here. This is very sad.
Okay.
There we go.
Hello, Charlotte Monk. How are you today? And how did the news about my poor cat called Psycho passed away last night?
Cat passed away. Psycho.
Oh, Simon. Oh, sorry to hear that, Simon. Oh, that's really sad. That is sad. There's nothing worse than your pet passing away. We send you best wishes, Simon. Thank you very much for all you do for us. Let's get some news, shall we, with Edward Hughes.
Hello, I'm Edward Hughes. Prince Harry and Meghan are preparing to move back to the UK later this month, with their children, Archie and Lilibet, enrolled to start school in September, 6 years after leaving for California. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has launched a pandemic-style national drive to get rough sleepers off the streets before Christmas, while also praising greater public control of bus services in the West Midlands. Russia has warned the UK of consequences after Ukraine used British-made drones in attacks. Burnham has responded by reiterating 100% support for Ukraine. Heavy, thundery downpours are set to continue across the UK, with a risk of flash flooding after the recent dry spell. It's also GCSE results day for many students in England. A people smuggler exposed in a BBC investigation has been arrested and charged with immigration offences. That's the roundup of the top stories this morning. Later Tigers.
Later Tigers, indeed. Yeah. It feels like Friday today for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know
weird,
why.
Isn't it?
It's kind of strange, isn't it?
The mood is lifted now Elena's here.
It has
Beautiful
much.
face.
It's much better, isn't it? It's much better. Do you think it's partly because last week? Because it's funny. Yesterday, I went to the gym and I was talking to my friend Artur, who's on that incredible interview that we did earlier with him about his incredible experience, but nearly dying and then running in this incredible Spartan race. Did I tell you he did it in like 2 hours 53 minutes? Insane. Just incredible. And he's now going to do his next one. He's going to go to France and take part in some 50-kilometre race, which he's going to do next year.
Tell a story about that guy in the gym.
Oh, what was that?
The guy who was being an arse in the gym.
Oh, yeah, Artur. Because Artur's quite well built, as you might expect. I mean, he's literally like a bad mountain. And used to be a police officer. And there was a guy who was kicking off. Because it's one it's one that's sort of a complex, and upstairs they've got consulting rooms where you can go and get massages, and you can go and get your brain sorted out or whatever it is. And there was some guy who was not happy with something that was going on, and he was there with his girlfriend, and he was shouting and screaming at the woman who was in the room, standing by the door. And Artur was like, who's very good at helping people out, just went up and stood behind the guy until he noticed he was standing behind him, and he turned around and was like, "Oh!" and he just stopped shouting because he didn't want to be carried out bodily from the premises. So he's a great guy. But I was saying to him yesterday, this time last week while we were driving to Clacton, because that was, and so this time last week, I suppose we were doing a show in Clacton. Thursday morning.
We have some suggestions for where because we can do another one, aren't we?
Actually, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, we were talking this morning about doing some more roadshow type behaviour, activity, and it might, in the first instance, be sort of closer to London than further away. But we'll change that over time. So we're looking for suggestions as to where we can come and do a show. And what we might do is like we did in Clacton, go and say on a Wednesday morning or a Thursday morning. Head over to wherever it might be, and we're thinking about maybe somewhere around Kent, Surrey, maybe Sussex, possibly, and sort of southeast to begin with. But don't hate us for that because it's just.
Anyone can recommend a sports club that we could do it.
But if you, a sports club or a village hall or somewhere with a bar that we can put chairs in. We're looking maybe to have an audience of about 100, 150 people, something like that, like we had in Clacton, and. We'd love to come and meet you all and do a little mini tour, if you like. So if you've got any suggestions, and if you're listening on and you're a member of Substack, by all means put them there, or you can put them on the chat, the YouTube chat. But it's a bit more difficult to gain it, to sort of capture it from there because of the way that the thing moves all the time.
Mick Rose has gone big.
Mick Rose has gone big. Mick, wow. Thank you so much. €100. Morning, Mike, Pooch, Charlotte, Elena, Scarlett, Luke. Just woken up. Sorry. Condolences to anyone who loses a pet. Off to Santorini. Nice. Yeah, thank you for that. Off to Santorini for a holiday with my fabulous wife. Love to all. Santorini, nice.
Beautiful.
Very nice. I'm probably going to take a holiday again soon.
Yeah. We need suggestions for who can stand in.
Oh, for me, yeah. Is it not going to be Russell then this time?
Well, I don't know because he's very busy. But...
He is very busy, yeah. Well, if it's not Russell, who would it be? I wonder. Maybe suggestions for that as well. A lot of suggestions coming in for all sorts of things at the moment. So keep them coming. I think
competition, Mike.
Oh yeah, here's another thing. We're full of ideas, right? I came in this morning, Pooch and I had a really nice little chat for about 15 minutes, and we worked out a few things. We're thinking, how about this, right? UK Live is going really well. We've got Ellie Hodges coming in again today at 12 o'clock. We've got Mark Littlewood and Paul Cox coming in to do Littlewood and Cox, of course, from 10 to 12, and we're hoping to populate is a word we use in the media business, populate the afternoon shows with all sorts of different personalities, and we've got lots of people that we're talking to and lots of people in mind. But here's what we thought we might do. We might actually just give a show to one of you, right? But what we'd have to do is make sure that you weren't mad, first of all. Two,
make sure you are mad.
Or make sure you are mad, but in a good way. Make sure you're competent, make sure you're capable of speaking, make sure you're... Will Geddes, please, is one there. I don't know if he wants to do a daily show, though. Ellie Hodges could cover us on holiday. Well, she could. So here's what we're thinking of doing. We're thinking of having like a talent competition in which you would send us, and don't do it yet, because we'll have to organise it first and sort of figure out how we're going to make it work. But what we'd be asking you to do would be to send in a sort of reel, right? As another word we use in the media, which is like a little, what, half an hour, did we say?
30-minute show.
30-minute show.
A couple of guests.
With a couple of guests that you could film. And basically, it would be judged by a panel of experts, which i.e. would be me and Kelvin. There won't be a Sharon Osbourne figure. There won't be a Piers Morgan figure. There won't be a Simon Cowell figure. It'll be just me and Kelvin McKenzie, and we will film it live, and we'll do it as a proper sort of talent competition, like Britain's Got Talent, and the winner will get a show.
Yeah, love it.
Right? What do you think?
New talent.
New talent, and don't worry if you're not in London, because we can make these things work remotely, which is another good word that we use here in the media. So yeah, well, there's a lot going on. I've got to keep writing all this stuff down, otherwise I forget what we're doing.
The viewers can remind us.
They can. Right, now we've got a guest to talk to. Is it Lord Monckton? Is he here with us? Good, because we've been waiting for him to join, and he's now here. Christopher, very good morning to you.
Mike, how very nice to see you. How are you keeping?
I'm very well indeed. Do you know, you may not know, I've got a best-selling book out there called Fake News, which was released about a week and a half ago, and has been in the top 3 on Amazon for about the last week and a half.
Well, congratulations, and do send me a signed copy.
I will, absolutely.
I'd be delighted to read that. It sounds like a really good thing. Well done.
It's very thin as well. It's a sort of designed for people with ADHD. You can read it in about 2 hours. It's all about the what's called the secret deal between government and the media. And you'll know a bit about this because, of course, what we get in terms of some of the messaging from the media, particularly the mainstream media, is what the government wants us to know. And what they don't do is tell us what they don't want us to know.
No, this is a huge problem. The access to information is getting harder and harder. And you probably saw that Richard Paulden, who now calls himself Zach Polanski, has been saying today that there must now be a state media organization to make sure that only the Communist Party line is promulgated, or words to that effect.
Yes. And I mean, the problem for many people is that they only know what they're told. Because they haven't got time to figure out what's going on. They don't necessarily know where to go to find out things that they aren't being told. Because if you don't know, you don't know.
Well, if you're working during the day and partying at night, it's not easy to spend your time hunting for information. It's there if you know where to look, but it's hard. And so if you do get the state increasingly, as it is now, dictating what you can say and even what you can think, that's bad news. One is reminded of Queen Elizabeth I, one of my collateral ancestors. And she said to one of her courtiers one day, when he said, look, we've got to stop all these troublesome Catholics. Can't we make them all swear an oath that they believe in Anglicanism? And she said very sensibly, I will not make a window into men's souls. But the communists today want you to sign up so that they can see into your mind and make sure that you only utter what they wish you to utter. This is a very, very dangerous trend and a very big change in a country which was once perhaps the freest in the world. You could say what you like.
Yes. Well, freedom of speech is not encouraged, is it, by government in this day and age? They'd rather you didn't say things which are embarrassing to them.
It's actively discouraged. In fact, if I were to go just 10 minutes from the Royal Crescent in Bath down the road from here, and stand outside with my rosary saying a little prayer,
Yeah.
I could be arrested, taken to the jail for the night, then brought up before the Beaks the following morning and fined £20,000 for praying within 10 minutes walk of a baby butchering factory. That's what it is now. You can't even register your distress that right up until birth, babies that feel the pain of their slaughter are not even given their own little anesthetic before they're torn limb from limb and thrown away. And, you know, there should be the freedom to say these things, because those little ones, do they have no less rights than we do? They have more rights than we do because they're more vulnerable than us. And nobody speaks for them, because if you do, you get cancelled.
Yeah. But you remember that guy who was done not only for praying, but for praying silently? So they were effectively prosecuting him for a thought crime, because I think somebody said at the time, well, how do you know what he was praying for? How do you know that he was praying for the babies, or whether he was praying for, you know, the salvation of the unborn, whatever it was? How could you tell? Because he wasn't saying anything.
Well, what they did in that case is they're trained to get it out of the people they stop. There was a woman from the council wearing a flak jacket, paid by your taxpayers' money and mine, and she was prowling the street. And when she saw him quietly walking by, looking as though he might be praying, she stopped him and she said, "Are you praying?" And he said, "Yes." She said, "What are you praying about?" And he said, "Well, I had a son that was aborted and I've felt very sorry about it ever since, and so I'm praying about it." And because he was within 150 of your meters of a baby butchering factory, he was rounded up, and it cost him, I think, 9,000, and then somebody else was done and it cost them 20,000. The state is utterly vicious. In the old days, you know, when the BBC still kind of reflected both sides to some extent, I could go on the air with the late Rabbi Sachs, and we would take the Judeo-Christian position on abortion against some horrendous communist on the other side, and there would be a debate. But now the BBC has actually issued official guidance that says that if you dare to say any question at all about whether babies should be killed in the way that they are, then you are an extremist. That's how the world has changed.
Yes, it has. Well, the other story I wanted to talk to you about, Christopher, was the whole Jason Arday scenario, which has been dominating
This
the
is,
news.
I mean, I have never been more ashamed of being a Cambridge alumnus than when that story first came to light. Because what it reveals is not so much anything about poor Mr. Arday, who we pray is now merry in heaven. It is about the ghastly bureaucrats at Cambridge University who decided to appoint him to a professorship simply because he was black and had dreadlocks and therefore looked the part, so that they could tick their diversity, equity and inclusion box. And therefore they were not minded to ask the questions or do the scrutiny that ought to have been done, because they would have seen that as racist, which is the way they pronounce it in Cambridge, racist. And this stupidity is in fact what did the ultimate harm to Mr. Arday. And of course he wasn't qualified to be a professor, but when his students began complaining that he wasn't giving them proper one-to-one tuition, which is the great thing about Oxford, Cambridge, Durham and St Andrews and practically nowhere else, they give you this personal one-to-one interaction with a genius of a professor, so that you really learn your stuff and you're put on your mettle. And he really wasn't doing that. But when his students complained, the immediate reaction of the university was that the students were racist, and so they didn't follow it up. Then one of the students went a little further and had a look and found that most of Mr. Arday's thesis came from somebody else's thesis, which had been published before. And these days there are programs you can use to check for this kind of thing, but Cambridge obviously hadn't bothered to use them. So the student passed that up the line and said, look, it does look as though his thesis was largely written by somebody else. And again, he was being accused of being a racist, and so it wasn't followed up. And there's a wonderfully flannelly article this morning in the Daily Telegraph from Chris Smith, who is now, God help us, the Chancellor of Cambridge University, saying that really, okay, perhaps Cambridge really ought to make a little bit more scrutiny of the people it appoints as professors, but really this is a problem of racism. Well, no, it isn't, because this country is one of the least racist countries anywhere. You know, if somebody has a hereditary suntan, so what?
Yeah.
The only thing that we should discriminate in their favour about is they need to be given a proper dose of vitamin D, because this is a country which, except for this summer, doesn't get much sunlight. But apart from that, discrimination in favour of or against people just because they happen to have a different degree of hereditary suntan than we have would be absurd. And, you know, the British people are not absurd. So we're not a racist country. But this accusation of racism and indeed fascism, that these were invented terms churned out by the disinformation directorate of the KGB in the bad old days as a way of attacking any opponent of communism. That's what these words were originally invented and circulated for. And so what really now needs to happen at Cambridge is that the flanneling waffler Chris Smith needs to be replaced with somebody who's going to get on top of all this. And they need to make absolutely sure that in future they don't worry about what somebody's skin color is. And what does DEI really stand for? It stands for didn't earn it, which is sadly the case with Mr. Arday. You know, somebody else earned it for him.
Right.
That's not how Cambridge is supposed to work. And indeed, you know, I was motorcycling through there. This was sort of 30 or 40 years ago when I could still see. And I stopped off for breakfast at Peterhouse, one of the colleges. And had breakfast with the then professor of logic. And he said, you know what they're doing? The vice-chancellor, who at the time was a communist, and the then new master of his college, another communist who'd come across from Oxford, were hell-bent on destroying the teaching of logic and banning it at Cambridge. And why? Because if you're communist, you don't want anyone being able to discern by the most rigorous methods ever devised what the actual truth is. And so logic is utterly opposed by the communists, and they were actually trying to do away with the subject at Cambridge. So this has been going on a long time. I mean, when I was on the standing committee of the Cambridge Union with Chris Smith, now the Chancellor of the university, as its president, I was the only non-communist on the standing committee, and that was more than 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So you can see that this trend of gradual penetration of communism and more recently now Islamism into the governance of the universities has been going on for a long time. Nobody's really noticed, and the reason why they haven't noticed is that, you know, if you're a parent, you don't know from day to day what your kid is being taught in school or in university. And once the communists realized that, they realized if they could get in and penetrate the schools and the universities, they could make people into good little communists. And Jordan Peterson has recently been studying this phenomenon, and he's found that people become woke if they're exposed to just one woke university or college course. That's all it takes. So that's the biggest predictor of whether they end up as good woke little communists themselves. And so that's why the communists do this, because nobody sees them doing it. So what I would do is put a sound feed in every primary and secondary school so that the parents of the kids could listen to what their kids are being taught in real time. And at the universities, I would make sure there were cameras as well, so you could see what the students were being taught. And that would bring this communist indoctrination to a screeching stop at virtually no cost.
Yes, that's definitely required. Absolutely brilliant. Lord Christopher Monckton, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you and good to get some common sense out of the world of academia, which is sadly lacking in a very large way.
Well, the great thing about your show, Mike, is that it is well grounded, and so I wish you all the best for your splendid book, and well done.
Thank you very much indeed. Lord Christopher Monckton, what a gentleman. Old-fashioned manners don't go amiss. We like them here at the Mike Graham Show. We like them in general in life as well. And so just be kind and be nice to people. And you don't have to be a left-winger to be kind, by the way. You just have to genuinely be kind, because, of course, we all know left-wingers are not kind at all. Another man, another voice of common sense. Will Geddes is coming up a little bit later on. And yet another man of great common sense, Godfrey Bloom, is here this morning with us as well. Godfrey, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
Okay. Yes. Well, I can hear you, but I can't see you. And what are we doing with that? Well, there's some kind of frozen screen thing going on.
All right, we'll sort it out. Shall we do your meltdown?
Should we do what?
Your meltdown?
Oh, the meltdown. Okay, yeah, we'll sort that out. Let's do a meltdown on Harry. So here we are. Harry and Meghan are coming home. That's what it says on the front page of The Sun this morning. After 6 years, after Megxit, after all the complaints about the racist royal family, do you remember the interview that they gave to Oprah Winfrey, in which they said, they asked about the colour of the skin of the baby? Do you remember that? The old cobblers that was run out by Harry and Meghan to Oprah Winfrey, who's since dumped them, by the way, because she worked out that that was a lot of old absolute and utter cobblers. And it was only just a few weeks back that Harry was telling us all that he couldn't bring his children to Britain because it was too dangerous, far too dangerous to bring them here, not even for a small trip. And then they came for a small trip, and apparently everything was fine. Now they say they want to come back and live in the UK. Well, I don't. So I'd rather they didn't. But unfortunately, it looks as though they've run out of cash, they've run out of moolah, they've run out of credit, they've run out of all sorts of friends in America. They don't have any anymore, because the trouble is, when you're a lying, cheating scumbag, that's what happens. When you try and pretend that you're something you're not, that's what happens. When you try and exploit everything and every person you've ever met, that's what happens. And that's why Harry and Meghan are bereft. All of their mates in America have deserted them. They've all worked out they're a pair of grifters. Netflix have given up on them. Spotify, similarly, don't want to see anything to do with them anymore. So they're coming back to the UK. And they might apparently be living in the Cotswolds, which, as far as I'm concerned, is yet another reason not to go to the Cotswolds. Because why would you? You know, oh, but we like going to Jeremy Clarkson's farm. Do you? Really? Why? Oh, but we like going to Lower Slaughter. Really nice there. Is it really? Overgrown with Japanese tourists and Americans? I don't think so. They're welcome to it. But I'd just rather they didn't come back at all. I can't see what the point of it is. I can't see why we should be in any way happy about it. And what I did say last night on Twitter was, let's make sure that they've worked for at least 5 years before they get any benefits from the state. Because they may not be completely and utterly Barasic yet, but they're almost bound to cost us money, aren't they? Who's going to pay for their security? Who's going to follow them around? Who's going to entertain them? Who's going to give them something to do? It would be a lot simpler if they just moved somewhere else, wouldn't it? How about Portugal? Apparently they've got a house there. I think they'd be much better off in Portugal than in Britain. So I say to Harry and Meghan, we don't want you here, don't bother coming back, and don't let the door hit you on the arse on the way out. Thank you very much. I think we got Godfrey back now. Godfrey, are you there? There we are. I can see you. How are you doing?
No, the camera keeps freezing.
The camera keeps freezing. Oh. I mean, it's a very fine picture of a very fine-looking man, but I'm not sure that's what I want to look at for the rest of the show.
Godfrey's happy face.
Yeah, Will Geddes is here. Should we just get Will Geddes here and see what we can do with Godfrey in the meantime? Do I detect the sound of eating going on there? You know, Will Geddes, the man, the mystery,
Always here to rescue things, Mike.
Always here to. Well, this is what you do.
I get paid for.
This is what you do. You know, I mean, it's emergency. What is it they used to call it? International rescue, right?
You've got to buy this, people.
Yeah.
Buy this.
Have you seen what's happened this week?
Well, you were already number one. What's happened now?
Well, not only was I number one, but I've now.
It's in big text as well, so I can read it.
I've now achieved a blue badge, right? And this is from Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently, not only was it number one for a whole week, it says here, this is from my publisher, Mike Fairclough. It previously reached number one in Amazon's UK live overall books chart, which means it was at that point the number one best-selling physical book across all books on Amazon UK, right? Now, there's a blue badge which has been awarded saying that Amazon chart's number 2 this week is something different. It's a weekly Amazon chart measuring performance across the week rather than where the book happens to sit in the constantly changing live charts. It means fake news did not simply shoot to number 1 for a few hours. Amazon is now recognising it as one of the very top performing books across the entire week.
It's awesome, mate.
Amazing, isn't it?
I'm thrilled for you. I'm really thrilled.
And I've already got 3,000
I bought one,
words.
but I'm going to need you to sign one for me.
I'm going to very happily sign it.
I should bring it in.
Please
you can sign it for me, and you can put something really rude in there.
I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, I'm hoping actually at some point I need to talk to Mike about it actually to maybe do a signing somewhere of some kind.
You know
because
what?
It might be
That's not a bad idea. Take the merch as well.
Take the merch. Yeah. We've got some merch here actually, and you can now get merch from the UK Live Online website. Which is ukliveonline.co.uk.
Amazing.
You can get, because if you look behind you, you'll see a plank of the week.
Mate, I need one of those hats.
I might give that one to you.
Really?
As a gesture.
Bless you. That's very sweet of you.
Because we haven't got many caps left, actually.
I definitely want one, mate. That'll be worn in the gym.
Well, that one can be yours.
And actually, more often than not, if I ever get stopped, usually by some lovely old lady who goes, "Oh, you're on Plank of the Week."
Yeah.
It's usually Plank of the Week that they recognise me for.
Funny?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Soon it will be Frontline.
Yes, Frontline. Now let's talk about Frontline because Frontline is the new show which we're doing here. One of the many new shows that we're doing, but one of the ones that we're really looking forward to. Will Geddes talks about security, talks about the world around us. Tell us about the show. What's the idea?
So I've got some incredible guests lined up.
Yeah.
A lot of people that the viewers won't have seen before. A few celebrities as well. I've got a fantastic Hollywood director who I've worked with on some big Hollywood movies.
Okay.
Giving him technical advice, how to run and gun, that sort of thing.
Right.
He's going to come on.
Yeah.
And if you watch the show, you'll see a little preview of him.
Okay.
And I'm working with him on his current movie, and we're going through the script, and there may be a chap with very, very, very short hair who may be in it.
Yeah.
Might be doing a lot of social media at the moment around some movie to do with
His
a
name's
boat.
not Jason, is it?
Possibly.
Really?
Possibly.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to be working on that. I've got a few spooks. I've got a few SF guys on the first show. I've got some really good guests, so definitely check in.
Right.
I've got your dear self. You're going to come and join me.
I'm going to come in
start
and
with.
check it out. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be pulling the curtain back on things like some of the conspiracy theories which are going on out there to see whether there's actually some truth in it. I mean, one of the things I'm going to talk about on the show with this former SAS buddy of mine is we're going to be talking about many of the deniable private military companies and mercenaries which are out there doing work for various states.
Yes.
And maybe telling you a little bit about what our government does. And if you've heard of E Squadron, I might be giving you a little bit of an
I have
insight
not heard
onto
about
that.
E Squadron.
No,
but
very few people have.
Sounds intriguing.
And then I've got some really fun, interesting people from all sorts of walks of life, where they've had interesting experiences, either stalking. So there's going to be lots of take home as well. So for people watching, and this is very much going to be the viewers' show as well. I want them to throw, and you very sweetly put something up on Substack.
Well, we put something on Substack yesterday just because I thought I wanted to alert people to the fact that the show was coming up.
Yeah.
And also because you want interaction, you might as well start from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And so people have sent in a few questions for you, which you'll be able to answer.
Yeah.
Which range from all sorts of things like, how do you safeguard your computer to, what about...
How to deal if you're being stalked, if you've had a threat made against you.
If something's happened
and I'll
to
give
you,
people behind the scenes of what executive protection is, if you're doing debugging, if someone wanted to bug you, what you could do to prevent it happening. If you get caught overseas, trapped in the middle of some horrible situation, maybe you went on sweater for your summer holidays, and then hundreds of thousands of people start caving into the country.
By North Africans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know what? I've dealt with a few extractions out of hot zones.
It's looking pretty dodgy down there still, isn't it? I mean, sweater.
Hellfire.
It's really not sorted out. I mean, as much as all the lefties were going, oh, they've all gone back, they just came for the day.
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so. I mean, you're getting all sorts of stories coming out there now.
Well, this is why you're so important, Mike,
Yeah.
because the MSM have now gone very quiet
They
on
have.
it. And again, like that, like Ukraine, I've got a really interesting... I remember you saying to me, am I going to have people blacked out or anonymous?
Yeah.
And I went, no, I will do.
Yeah.
And I've got one guy who's doing some interesting work in Ukraine at the moment. Again, give you a little bit more behind the scenes you're not going to get from MSM.
Right.
Equally, what's going on in the Iran conflict, because most people only see it through the prism of what the MSM wants to tell them. This is why your show's
This is
so
what
brilliant.
I was saying to Christopher Monckton there, Lord Monckton, just before, because the book effectively is about that kind of relationship between the media and the government, and how much the government tells them for them to tell you, and what they don't tell them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's the Research Information Communications Unit, which we've talked about before, which is private PR communications companies that are employed with our tax-paying money to communicate messages for the Home Office, but pretending it's from the communities.
Yes.
And the problem is everything on social media is you've got to question. You've got to question the message, the narrative, what it's doing, why it's doing it, and we're going to talk about that on the show as well. How I know there was a question about TikTok. I'm going to talk about how the Chinese state are exploiting our children through TikTok, and I'm going to talk also about this recent report that came out about children being radicalized online as well, and give people some help, some advice. And so please send in questions. Whatever it is, I'll try and answer it for you.
Sounds fascinating.
Or I'll know someone who can.
Right. Well, it's such a big area, isn't it? So many questions that I've got for you as well. Do you want us to do news now, Elena?
Yeah.
Is that the thing? So do you mind just staying where
Of
you
course.
are? We'll do a bit of news with Edward Hughes, and then I'm going to play you something that's going to make you laugh, just right after this.
Hello, I'm Edward Hughes. Prince Harry and Meghan are preparing to move back to the UK later this month, with their children, Archie and Lilibet, enrolled to start school in September, 6 years after leaving for California. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has launched a pandemic-style national drive to get rough sleepers off the streets before Christmas, while also praising greater public control of bus services in the West Midlands. Russia has warned the UK of consequences after Ukraine used British-made drones in attacks. Burnham has responded by reiterating 100% support for Ukraine. Heavy, thundery downpours are set to continue across the UK, with a risk of flash flooding after the recent dry spell. It's also GCSE results day for many students in England. A people smuggler exposed in a BBC investigation has been arrested and charged with immigration offences. That's the roundup of the top stories this morning. Later, Tigers.
This video is sponsored by Tally Money. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by CEO and founder Cameron Parry. Cameron, very good morning to you. Nice to see you. Tell us what Tally Money is.
Well, at Tally Money, you get a savings account powered by gold. So we give you a sort code and account number in your name, just like a normal bank account, but instead of sitting in pounds, you now have milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. And how does it actually work sort of day to day? Do you check the gold price every day? Do you need to do that? How does that?
We use the spot price, what's called the spot price in gold, and that updates every minute. It's a live price. We don't charge any premiums or FX margins on anything on that. You just go about your day as though it was any other mainstream foreign currency, except that you see all your transactions in real time and you're not getting charged international transaction fees and things like this.
Okay, so if I move some of my money into Tally, because I've just opened an account, what happens to it? And is it one of those things that I'll just be watching all day to go, ooh, look what's happening today?
You might do, but you've probably got better things to do with your time, to be honest, Mike. I don't actually think about the little movements in price, because I know over time that on average it goes up more than 12% per annum, and it has each year for the last 10 years. Bank savings products or current accounts just can't compete with that at all. But the main thing is my money's sitting there. It's my direct ownership of an asset. When I use my Tally card, in London to buy a cup of coffee, the merchant still gets pounds.
Yeah, okay. To find out more about Tally Money and for a special offer for viewers of the Mike Graham Show, simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description right here. Now, we've been talking a lot about Harry and Meghan. Will Geddes is here with us. We're trying to get Godfrey Bloom back. We're not sure if we're going to be able to. It's not, technologically speaking, it's not all going very well. But, all over the front pages. It broke last night, this story. You and I have talked about the whole Harry and Meghan situation many, many times. But before we do it, I want you to just have a look at this, right? This will take you back to the wedding day, but I want you to pay particularly close attention to the narrator of the story, because I want you to imagine what he's doing while he's speaking. Have a look at this. Have a listen.
Bride looking radiant. And there is the kiss that everyone was hoping for and waiting for.
Well, that was a service and a half, wasn't it?
Wow, you took the words right out of my mouth, and what an exquisite scene. We see them coming down the west steps, the step liners there, the magnificent floral displays behind, and we saw just a glint of that utterly divine tiara, Queen Mary's diamond bandeau tiara from 1932, the central brooch dating from 1893. We were talking about the dress quite a lot this morning, and what a dress it's proved to be, Dermot. What do you make of it?
Well, listen, I mean, I'm slightly outside my comfort zone here with my esteemed company, but she just looks stunning and happy. And I mean, I thought the Page boys in particular did a great job. The Marooney boys, all the way up there. Joe, it wasn't what you expected. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's absolutely genius as a dress, actually, in that it completely complements her style.
So did you recognise the voice at the start?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was Edward Hughes' brother, wasn't it?
It
His
was
twin.
the very same Hugh Edwards, now no longer with the BBC because he had a bit of an unfortunate situation where he was convicted of being a paedophile, who's now still in receipt of a BBC pension and still hasn't given the money back. Still hasn't given the money back, by the way, that he took out of the company.
No, of course he did.
When he was on suspended duty.
Yeah. And also his comeback. Do you remember he was going to make a comeback?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of died on it.
Wasn't he going to do a show on Channel 5?
Backside, but he'd know all about that, wouldn't he?
He would. Wasn't he going to do a show
from his photographic life?
Yeah, wasn't he going to do a show on Channel 5 or something?
I don't know. Or was that Schofield? I can't remember.
Schofield did one.
It's all these nonsense trying to
he was on an
back.
island. But no, the only thing I thought about Hugh Edwards there was listening to his voice, wondering if he was texting anybody at the same time.
Probably.
You know,
say, hang on a second.
You know, a teenager or something dreadful business. What an absolutely ghastly character. But watching that, you know, it gives the complete lie, doesn't it, to what the narrative was when they went back to America, or they went to America for, you know, Megxit, as they called it, and said, oh, you know, everyone was terrible to us in Britain. You know, we've been chased out of Britain because they're all racists, and the royal family are all racists, and, you know, we can't get a break, and it's not fair. And so now we've come to America to sort of, you know, to live happily ever after. 6 years later, they're coming back.
To the racists.
Well, apparently not only to the racists, but to a place which was too dangerous for him to bring his children.
Yeah.
Only a few months ago.
And a good proportion
so
of the threats.
Safer.
Well, a good proportion of the threats that he's claiming, of the 6 threats, one is 4 individuals that were part of an Al Qaeda cell that apparently had a threat against him who've absconded and disappeared.
Right.
But this is some years ago.
Yeah.
Many of the threats have been born from his rubbish book that he came out.
Well, I was going to say, maybe if he didn't want to be threatened by the Taliban, he shouldn't have boasted about killing them all.
It's probably not a great idea.
You know.
Probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he may be coming back to try and force the hand of Ravek to try and reinstate his...
These are the Royal Protection
security.
people, right?
Correct, yeah, royalty and a very important people committee.
Yeah.
And, you know, look, I think he's going to get the bare minimum like Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
I think it's highly... I'd love to hear your views. I seriously doubt he's going to be reinstated as a royal and do royal duties.
No, I think not.
He's still going to faff about.
Because I think the thing that we haven't really spoken much about this morning, and nobody really has in the papers, is William. Because, you know, he's the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
He's the next most powerful person, I suppose, in the family after the king. He might even be more powerful than the king because he's about to become the king. And I don't think he's going to be very happy about this at all.
I bet he isn't.
He's certainly not. He doesn't speak to him, right? So why would that change unless there's some kind of rapprochement made by some intermediary? I don't know who that would be. But, you know, I don't believe the story that Charles only found out about this on Sunday, do you?
No, I'm not buying that for a second.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're absolutely right, what you were saying earlier. I don't know why they're not going to Portugal. They've got a house there. And apparently he didn't need huge amounts of security. I mean, he had his security team inevitably with him. But I think he's run out of money, Mike.
Yeah,
I think that's really what
I don't
it
think
is.
there's any doubt about that. They've run out of money. They've run out of friends.
He's had his backside caned from that Daily Mail thing.
He has. He also owes a load of money as well, because he's not just out of money, but he now owes, he's got a £50 million bill to pay for his lawyers. and for their lawyers as well. And also, how does he think that the Mail, which is now kind of his sworn enemy, is going to react to him living here? Do you think they're going to ignore him?
I think they're on the pictures desk. They're going to go like this, aren't they?
Right. Okay, then. Let's see what we can do.
Let's crack on.
Because I presume, though, would there be a different category for his children, for example, if he's got, say, to put his kids into private school, whether it's in the Cotswolds, wherever it is he chooses to live, as some people are saying he might end up living on the Althorpe estate because, matey boy,
been there,
Earl Spencer, or the Earl of Spencer, as he was once called when I worked at the Daily Express, has got a new book coming out about his sister, right? Which again can't be particularly welcomed by William, who he's supposed to really care about.
Exactly.
He's supposed to be, kind of a father figure to, which was all rubbish.
And he was going to take care of the boys,
he was
wasn't
going
he?
to look after them. And I remember that day, like it was yesterday.
Yeah, me too.
Diana's funeral.
Yeah.
Because I remember we all just sort of stood open-mouthed listening to what he was saying.
Quite a speech he gave in the church, wasn't it?
I was never a fan of his, right? Yeah. Because I know what he's like. People have told me that he's not a very nice character. And so I was slightly, I would say, nonplussed by the fact that he kind of hijacked the funeral as if he wanted to make an attack on the family, which I don't think she would have ever done.
It was highly inappropriate. It was highly, I went to his first wedding with Victoria Lockwood, who was a lovely, lovely girl.
He sort of ruined her, didn't he?
Sorry?
He sort of ruined her,
well,
didn't he?
There's all sorts of allegations surrounding inappropriate relationships elsewhere, maybe, and these are allegations, obviously. I don't want to get sued. But,
no, but she ended up in a pretty bad way, didn't
she did, and I think she ended up, whether she's still there or not, I think she went down to South Africa. Yeah. She's now living a good life. I haven't spoken to her for years, but
Well, he was there as well, wasn't he? Didn't they both go there together?
Yeah, and she should have fed him to the lions.
Well, that's one way of putting it. But yeah, so I was never a big fan of his in any event. But some suggesting now that if he's still in touch with Harry, that he's a possible place where they could go and live, because apparently we're also being told that they're unlikely to be given any kind of royal property. So they won't be anywhere near Windsor, they won't be anywhere near Kensington Palace.
No.
If they go to the Cotswolds, could they have a private home that would be somehow a place they would buy? I mean, again, I don't believe this line that they're keeping Montecito and they're keeping Portugal and they'll have a house here. They haven't got that kind of money.
Well, I mean, Montecito is worth about 11 million. Yeah. The house that they've got there. I've got some friends who live in Montecito as well. They don't often see them, they apart from at Polo, which Harry tends to go, and this friend of mine plays. They've got a lot of real estate around the world, but not a great deal of money. So if they start claiming poverty and trying to pay their legal fees, then I think that's not going to go down too well. I mean, I've certainly pursued people who've tried to run away, not paying bills of significant amounts. Obviously, I only do significant amounts.
Of course.
If it's 50 quid.
Because you've got to take some of it as a fee, right? Presumably.
My fees are expensive.
Finder's fee.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think the long and the short of it is, they're coming back here to an unwelcoming sort of general public. Yeah. They've alienated the general public over here, so they should just go quiet.
Most people's reaction this morning is basically, why are they coming back here?
Yeah.
He spent basically the best part of the last 6 years slagging Britain off, slagging off his family, slagging off the press, slagging off the people, really, slagging off the country, So I don't understand why. But as you say, probably because they've got nowhere else to go. Yeah. And they need to sort of have... The other suggestion that some people have made is that and it's a bit morbid, is that he wants to be closer to his dad because he knows at some point, in the relatively near to mid-term...
Doesn't want to get left out of the inheritance.
He doesn't want to be rowing with him because he wants to... They've probably factored in the inheritance money.
Yeah, I mean, his dad's not well. We know that. The king's not well. And regardless of what anybody thinks of him, nobody wishes cancer on anybody.
No, God.
So I think there's every good chance that Harry's probably, you're absolutely right. I'd agree with you on that. I think maybe it's taking a turn for the worse and Harry's trying to get closer to his dad. But the problem is Meghan's in that equation, and I don't see the sincerity necessarily in the motivations of what she does. And I think ultimately it's about the cashola.
Yeah, sure.
When it comes to
and
her.
What people have said is, what exactly would she be doing if he's doing whatever he's doing with the Invictus Games?
I'm not sure he's going to stay with Invictus.
Yeah.
I think Invictus, from the veterans that I know who are connected to it, I'll name no names, nobody actually likes the fact that him and Meghan hijack the publicity of the games by their presence, and a lot of the press, and particularly now, as you rightly say, the Daily Mail won.
Yeah.
So they're in a
star.
position now where they're going to turn around and say, we're just going to go to town on these two.
Exactly.
If they'd lost, then maybe they would come back to a higher degree of privacy. I know this from experiences that I've been involved in.
Oh no! Listen, if I mean, I can tell you from the inside of a newspaper point of view.
You know better than me.
If something goes wrong in a legal sense, then you back off.
Yeah, exactly.
And you go, okay, because you don't want to be seen to be trying to aggravate the situation.
Yeah.
And if particularly if the public sentiment is against the newspaper, as it was to a large extent with Diana towards the end. You know, when Diana died, I mean, newspapers were the devil incarnate. I remember, you know, if people found out you were working for a newspaper, even if you were out in a bar.
I mean,
or
just
something,
look at the Jason Arde thing at the moment.
Yeah, people were really hostile.
Yeah.
You know, people would ring up randomly. You know, in the old days before social media, back in the day of 1997, where basically they'd go, "You killed Diana. You killed our Queen of Hearts. You know, it's all your fault." You know, as if we'd literally pulled a trigger. You know.
Yeah.
However, if you win, then it's open season.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to stop you. The only thing stopping you is your own kind of restraint, if you like.
Yes, exactly.
But they will have people, you know.
They'll be smart. They'll box clever.
They will, because it's not like the old days where you could chase everybody around on the back of a motorbike and all that. But they'll know exactly what they're up to. They'll be tracking them. They'll be doing all manner of things, and you know.
I might be covering a little bit of that on my front line, because you know my experiences. You know, it's like when a certain head of a red top newspaper that allegedly hacked Millie Dowler's phone. I was brought in to protect that person. That was an interesting story, but certainly about how the number of death threats that came in.
Yeah.
And that person wasn't necessarily the person responsible for that hacking.
Right.
You know, if there was a hacking, allegedly. But they were the most visible target for everybody's sort of...
everybody's ire.
Yeah,
and
everyone's ire, yeah.
And, you know, newspapers are not what they were. They're not as powerful as they once were. They're not as kind of easy to hate, I suppose, as well, because they're sort of slightly less controversial than they used to be. But I think the problem is Harry and Meghan are so unpopular that nobody really that I've spoken to or that I've seen, apart from the occasional lefty that appears on GB News, wants to see them here.
No.
You know.
I don't think they do.
They just don't.
Yeah.
So it will be fascinating. But in terms of what I was going to ask you about was the kids, I suppose, at school.
Yes.
I mean, would they get special protection?
Yeah, I think they'll probably try and put them in
they might
one
be
of the
kidnapped targets or something.
Yeah, I mean, you'd look at, say, for the security at, say, Eton College.
Yeah.
Now, George is going to be going there shortly. The security at Eton College is really good because you've got a lot of heads of state and former heads of state's children that are also going there. So you've got a very international student
Must
base.
be bodyguard central, wasn't it?
It is. Their
own wing.
Ravek would be involved there.
Yeah.
They've got their own personal security. They've got amazing technology.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think if they're going to stick the kids in. But you've also got the movements back and forth from home to school, which will be managed probably maybe by Ravek, but I would say probably by his own personal security, their own personal security.
I mean, the other question, I suppose, is if his dad, Charles, wants to do it, he could bankroll quite a lot of what they need. If he wants to.
Yeah.
But whether he wants to or not is another matter.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have asked the question whether he might help out with the payment of the legal fees.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that he can't do is he can't certainly put any kind of pressure, sovereign pressure onto independent groups like Ravek to tell them, yeah, you need to put security on my son. The only way that will happen is if he gets reinstated into royal duties and then he becomes categorised, because not every royal has security. Right. And Andrew's, obviously, now he's stepped back from duties. That's at the very bare minimum.
Well,
but he's also got the protection of being on the estate. That's
but he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't leave the estate, does he?
No. Doesn't even horse ride anymore.
Does he not?
No, he's not allowed to. He was told not to because it gave bad optics.
It's not the only thing.
He's quite used to that, isn't he?
Well, you would think, yeah. It's actually, the scandal's reduced to bad optics. He's in a good place. I think we're almost ready to talk to Mark Littlewood. Is he ready? Because coming up every day this week and every day from the foreseeable, from 10 o'clock every single day, is Mark Littlewood and of course Paul Cox, or Dr. Paul Cox, as I occasionally refer to him. Mr. Littlewood, how are you?
Mike, great to see you. I'm
Great
back
to see you. You're back. Brilliant.
I'm back.
Excellent. Well, I mean, listen, I'm sure you've got a snorter of a show for us, because there's so much to talk about this morning. You know, from the return of the dreaded gruesome twosome to that ridiculous Home Office pamphlet that's come out. You know, it might as well say, you know, please don't murder anybody, because in our culture you're not allowed to.
It is absolutely crazy, isn't it, Mike? I mean, I think everybody's trying to imagine what sort of discussion took place in the Home Office. That eventually the government realised there was a problem with a good chunk of migrants, and they thought, how are we going to tackle this? We're not going to leave the ECHR. We're not going to change the law. We're not going to detain and deport. I know. Let's print a pamphlet. They thought that is the great idea they came up with. Absolutely crazy. We've got Rob Bates on, the great Rob Bates from the Centre of Immigration Studies. He's going to be talking about that. Harry and Meghan, of course. Yeah, my metric of madness today might have something to do with those guys. So there's a little bit of a clue. We're also going to be discussing net zero. The Tories are trying to move into reform territory on net zero, Mike. Did you see that, or have you given up watching the Tories? But they've pretty much abandoned net zero fully now.
Yeah, the Tories are now sort of trying to impersonate the old Tories, aren't they? They've decided that, you know, the new Tories didn't work out too well. They've got this ridiculous thing now where people like Penny Mordaunt and Grant Shapps can't get a game on the pitch because apparently they might not be right-wing enough, right? And they've got to, apparently they've all got to denounce net zero before they can be given permission to stand as a candidate. Well, these are the people that invented net zero, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, that is a bit of a problem. We're going to be going through that. I quite like what Claire Coutinho said, but in her whole story about how did we get here, she didn't mention once that it was the Tories who brought in the Climate Change Act, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be picking that apart. We're also going to be asking a question. This has been working away at me. Mike, are you welcoming of AI or scared of it? We're going to be touching on, is it a good or a bad thing? Where are you on that, Mike?
Well, do you know, I'm neither of those things, actually. I mean, I think it's probably inevitable, so I think there's no point in trying to hold the tide back or anything like that, Canute style. I don't like to use it an awful lot because I don't actually trust it, you know? I know that in our business there's lots of good uses for it, and other people around the show use it and stuff, and that's fine. But I'm you know, because people said to me about, I don't know if you know, I've written a book. I do this all the time.
I hadn't heard, Mike.
Yeah, I know you might not have heard. I know you've been away.
Why didn't you tell me? I'm one of your trusted chief lieutenants. I had no idea.
Yeah. But people said to me, oh, did you use AI for any of it? And I was, of course not, absolutely not. I'm an old-fashioned writer. I used to write for a living. It used to be my job. And I actually quite enjoy doing it. And what I don't like is to see people who think they've written something when in fact they've just used AI. And the problem, I think, for a lot of people is they haven't worked out what it's good for and what it isn't good for. And it's not good. I don't think it's good for everything.
Yeah, that's very fair, Michael. Although I'm writing a book, but my book is based on like a ton of speeches and interviews I've done on YouTube.
Right.
So what I've done is to put all of those into AI and then break it down into what Littlewood said. I'm basically using it as a transcribe tool. That doesn't strike me as cheating, right?
No,
I'm on the right
I think
side of
that's
the line
fine.
there.
No, I think that's fine. And I think that's probably where it's quite useful. But where I think it's not good is if you, for example, if you're a kid at school and you're supposed to write an essay and you just type a few things into AI and it gives you an essay, I think that's bad. And so I think that's the difference, I guess, you know?
Yeah, that seems fair enough. So yeah, and then the big news, Mike, we've got the great Peter Hitchens coming in today.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah, this is amazing.
This is epic. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic. Give him my best regards.
Yeah, he is just fascinating. He comes up with ideas that, you know, many folk would think are completely barking mad, but he is so persuasive. He's persuaded me of one or two things. But do you know what he's trying to persuade us of at the moment, Mike?
What? Go on.
That the motor car is a bad thing. He's putting together a book called The Madness of Cars. He basically thinks we should scrap cars. Well, that goes a little bit against my kind of libertarian
Well, that's all right
principles.
for him. He lives in Oxford, you know, where everybody goes around on bikes, you know, cheating at their exams. But there we are.
Anyway.
Great. Look forward to it. Mark Littlewood coming up with Paul Cox from 10 o'clock, literally 1 minute away from now. Will Geddes, thank you very much indeed for popping in. He's going to be filming his new show, which is called Frontline. With Will Geddes. It's going to be very exciting. Very exciting times here at UK Live, by the way, because we've got all sorts of ideas and all sorts of things. We announced today, by the way, we're going to try and give a show to somebody out there in the audience, if you like.
Oh, right.
We're going to run a kind of Britain's Got Talent style competition.
Oh, I love it.
And me and Kelvin.
Can I be on the judging panel?
Well, it's going to be. Yeah, we can have Will on it. It was going to be me and Kelvin, but you can join.
Oh, I want to join.
He's a nice guy.
I know what Kelvin's like. Kelvin's horrible.
He'll just reject.
Make people cry. I'll be nice.
He'll just reject everyone. It'd be terrible. But anyway, so we've got all that going on. Also, Ellie Hodges coming on at 12 o'clock after that. She did an interview with me yesterday, which will be out soon as well. So it's all happening. It's all going on. This is the place to be, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Mike Graham Show. We'll be back tomorrow from 7, of course, a.m. But don't miss it. We're never late, and you shouldn't be either. And thanks to Elena, thanks to Pooch, thanks to Charlotte, and thanks to Scarlett, who's in there, I think, as well
Luke,
today.
yeah.
There's Luke there as well.
Luke's
Good man. It's all going on. We'll see you tomorrow.
The revolution will be televised.